He's the Lord of Minecraft, not the Light God King. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, The Invincible Golden Body of the Dawn Church, Blackwater City. Ever since Ian and the others went to support the winged folk, the atmosphere in the city had been very somber. Although they had the protection of the Dawn, it was, after all, an army of tens of thousands of demons. Judging from Ian's intentions, he only planned to take Leal and the others to intercept them. Even the children who had never seen demons felt that this was a fantastical tale. Even if it were 10,000 chickens, 20 people couldn't deal with them. This book is first published on the entire network but Ian had even brought up the Dawn. Could they, the children of the Dawn, dare to disobey the benevolent Father, the omnipotent Lord? Thus, the 5,000 men, women, and children of Blackwater City could only silently watch Ian and the others' backs as they braved the rain in the city. It wasn't until a long time later that, led by Father Matthew, they collectively returned to the Dawn Church to pray sincerely. The Dawn is merciful, and his glory will not miss any child. The Dawn is majestic, and his thunder will not spare any enemy. Sink into hell, under the illumination of the Dawn, his children will forever stand on the side of victory. Chapter 9, verse 32 of the Oracle Scripture. The hymn of the Dawn's victory formed a magnificent wave of sound within the Dawn Church, penetrating the walls and doors. It lingered over Blackwater City for a long time. And besides the sound of prayer, there was also the earth-shattering sound of shouting and killing from the garrison of the Holy Sea's army in the west of the city lives to block the demon's hole. But now, the Holy Sea's army only felt ashamed. As a legion that had received the glory of the Dawn, they were not even worthy of going to the battlefield to fight for the Dawn because their strength was too poor. How could they accept this? Fighting for the nobles who were high above and didn't take them seriously was just for survival, a forced bow of the head. But now, fighting for the Dawn was the only repayment they could make to the selfless Lord. With a different standpoint, the mentality was naturally different as well. The Holy Sea's army's extra training was not requested by anyone, but was their own initiative. If they were left behind again because of such a thing next time, what face would they have to call themselves warriors of the Dawn? However long Ian and the others had been out, the shouts of killing had continued. Perhaps this was the only way the Holy Sea's army could fight alongside them. Inside the Dawn Church, whose worry arose in his heart, but his face remained calm. Father Matthew, should we continue? Someone asked in a low voice inside the silent Dawn Church. Matthew came back to his senses and nodded. Continue. Matthew, His Holiness the Pope has been leading the team away for more than half a day. Now that the rain has stopped, why hasn't he returned yet? Don't think too much. War is always long. You must firmly believe that under the illumination of the Dawn, all who are enemies of our Dawn will be reduced to ashes. His Holiness the Pope and the others may be on their way back. Matthew patiently comforted them, but the believers below still didn't buy it. I heard people say that the winged folk betrayed the 100 Clans Alliance in the last anti-demon war, leading to the 100 Clans Alliance's defeat. They have a previous record. Could it be before that person could finish speaking? Matthew immediately interrupted sternly. Don't talk nonsense. You have all seen that winged folk girl. You have also seen her devotion to the Dawn. Don't completely define a group of people based on an accident. In any case, they are all heroes against the demons. Leal and the others after all. Enough. Matthew scolded sternly. This was the first time he had angrily gotten since becoming a priest. Have you all forgotten the greatness of the Dawn? Matthew stood up and stood in front of everyone, pointing around. Look at this sacred church. Under the gaze of the Dawn, how can you be so unconfident in the Dawn, that miraculous harvest, the endless rain, the powerful Dawn Guardian? Doesn't this prove the greatness of the Dawn? How could His Holiness the Pope, protected by the Dawn, possibly lose? Old Matthew glared at everyone, his hair standing on end. Even if we take a step back, what if we lose? The Dawn gives us hope, treats us as children, and promises us glory. All our current good lives are given by the Dawn. Do you have to call yourselves children of the Dawn? In any case, I, Matthew, will not be greedy for life and afraid of death. Even if this war is lost, I will risk this old life to defend the glory of the great dawn. After the words fell, after a long time, the believers below all raised their hands and echoed with flushed faces. We are not cowards. We can also risk our lives for the dawn. The dawn has given me everything. I'm willing to respond to the dawn with my life at any time. Forever. The shouts replaced the sound of prayer and rushed out of the church. Old Matthew breathed a sigh of relief and nodded with relief. Well done. This is what the children of the dawn should be like. As soon as the words fell, someone rushed into the church in a hurry. Father Matthew. Matthew's father. Speed that did not belong to an old man like him, rushing up in 3 steps and pressing the other person's shoulder. Could it be that His Holiness the Pope has returned? Yes. The young man's face was full of joy, and then his voice resounded throughout the church. Great victory. His Holiness the Pope and the others have returned with a large number of demon corpses and the winged folk. As soon as these 4 words fell, old Matthew ran away with a whoosh. Immediately afterwards, before the young man could catch his breath, he was shocked by the fanatical cheers in the church. The stampede of thousands of people was like the earth dragon turning over. Soon, there was no one left in the church when old Matthew and the other citizens gathered at the city gate. On the distant horizon, 20 steeds took the lead, galloping towards Blackwater City in the sunlight. In the sky, a dark mass of winged folk formed a line, flapping their wings and flying high, as if cheering for Ian and the others. Before long, when they got closer, old Matthew and the others stretched their necks and looked around, and then they were sure. Not a single person was missing, and each of them was full of energy. It didn't look like they were fighting a war, but like they were on a tour. But the wounds on the bodies of the winged folk in the sky, and the demon corpses they were holding in their hands, could not be faked. Judging from the situation, it must have been a magnificent and tragic war, but at least Ian and the others were fine. So, it was a great victory. When the 20 steeds arrived at the city gate, they slowed down. In old Matthew's eyes, Ian and the others were the same when they went out as when they came back. The only difference was that now they carried a sharp and stern aura. Bang, bang, bang. The continuous demon corpses were thrown down by the winged folk. The sound of impact was so wonderful to old Matthew and the others. Thousands of people, plus the winged folk, totaled nearly 10,000 people, but the city gate was still silent. Until Markov finally threw out a headless corpse and a head rolled to old Matthew and the others. Ian finally spoke. His tone was as indifferent as when he said he would take 19 people to annihilate the demons. Citizens of the dawn, I have brought back the victory I promised you. This glory, but remember, this victory will not be the last. In the future, you will also witness and personally create more glory and dedicate it to the dawn. Now Ian raised his hand and pointed to the Mind Flayer commander's corpse on the ground. Bury the enemy's corpse at the gate city and hang the head on the city. Let this despicable demon watch his own corpse being trampled by us into the dust. Let this despicable demon watch how our dawn church uses his and his comrades' blood to create the glory of the dawn. Ian raised his scepter and his voice spread throughout the city gate. The dawn will last forever. Responding to Ian was only a more fanatical sound of prayer. The invincible golden body of the Dawn Church was deeply rooted after this incredible victory. Chapter 52: How to smoothly put on a good show. After winning a battle, logically speaking, there should be rewards upon returning to the city, but this time, the war was personally led by His Greatness. It's like the monarch leading the expedition in person. Who can reward him? Therefore, shaking hands with the people of Dawn and kindly caring about their lives, and whether they have any problems that need to be solved. If there are any difficulties that need help, that is the best choice. During this period, someone will definitely keep asking, Your Greatness, how did you annihilate such a number of demons with just 20 people? Remember, at this time, you must not boast about how wonderful your operation was, no matter how much the people beg to know a little bit of information. Just say with a gentle expression, under the protection of Dawn, is there any reason why we shouldn't win in battle? After that, turn the tables and ask, how is the grain harvest? Is there anything uncomfortable about the current housing environment? Is life better than before? The Believers of Dawn are left with only raising their hands, jumping up and down, and tearfully expressing their piety and gratitude to Dawn. In this way, it not only highlights the disdain for the demons, the enemies of this war, but also expresses a core point of view. Compared to the incredible feat of 20 people defeating the demons, the great and merciful Dawn is more concerned about the 3 meals a day of every child of Dawn. As for how incredible this war is, the great scholars of the Winged Clan will naturally debate for Dawn. Internal Archives meeting of the Holy See top secret in the 13th year of the Light Era. Pope Lael held an internal training for senior clergy in the Holy See. Quoting the material from the time when the great God King of Light first led the victory in the war, he demonstrated the topic of the key to putting on a good show in contrast. Later, it was compiled into a paper, How to Put on a Good Show Smoothly, and published in the Internal Journal of the Holy See's High Level. Back inside the City Lord's Mansion Point at this time, only Ian and Lael and their own people were left point. Therefore, Ian didn't have to continue to maintain his profound, gentle, and approachable image point. He plopped himself down on the soft sofa, placing the pearly papal crown under his head as a pillow point. Then, he put his legs on Regia's lap, asking her to massage the stiff calf muscles from riding the horse. Young man. However, as the saying goes, there are no outsiders here. Old Matthew took the Winged Clan to find a place to settle down in the city. In the future, both the Winged Clan and the Human Clan will settle in Blackwater City. However, there is no need for ethnic distinctions anymore. They only have one identity, Children of Dawn, to clean up. This also gave them a chance to communicate about the process of the war. First, it was to let the citizens of Blackwater City more deeply understand the divine power of Dawn. Second, it was also to give them a chance to get to know each other. Third, Ian can also rest as soon as possible and get out of that masked state. The skin of God and Pope is really comfortable to use. At every turn, there are mountain shouts and tsunami, believers jumping up and down, and every word and deed will be magnified and studied. To put it bluntly, even if Ian farts, old Matthew and the others can blush and argue over who smelled it and who didn't. But once this skin is worn, it is difficult to take it off. Ian is not a god, and he doesn't like being a god high above. Even if he is helpless, he wants to preserve his last piece of pure humanity. At the very least, in front of Lael and the others, he can be himself without any burden. Others can also be regarded as a layer of insurance that Ian left for himself. Lest he forget that his last name is Forbes in the future. It's still comfortable here. Ian stretched his waist and changed his leg to let Regia massage him. It's still very tiring to pretend to be a badass every day. After this time, I'm going to squat in the MC world for a while to get rid of the work vibe on my body. I think young Master Ian, you are enjoying the enthusiasm of the people for you. Regia teased, and Ian curled his lips. Who doesn't enjoy enthusiasm? But boundless enthusiasm can easily make me forget who I am. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Ian turned over and got up, knocking away Regia's hand that was gradually running into a dangerous area. He took out the crystal left after defeating the abyss before. Lael, have you seen this thing before? Hearing this, Lael put down the work in his hand, came over to examine it carefully for a moment, and frowned. Such pure energy, without a trace of flaws. Strange. This thing, one piece, can create a knight like the old man. Young Master Ian, where did you get it? Ian pondered for a moment, and said in a low voice, the abyss. What? When he defeated the abyss? After a long time, Lael frowned and pondered. It's unreasonable. I followed the old man, and fought side by side. The old man defeated 2 abysses, and I have never seen this situation. However, according to what you said, the situation is very bad. If the abyss is really controlled by the demons, then there is no safety to be said, even if there is a natural chasm between us and the winged demon you mentioned. The only winged demons among the demons are the Leviathan under the King of Jealousy and the Succubus under the King of Lust. But the wings of these 2 types of demons do not match the wings you mentioned at all. As soon as he finished speaking, Regia's eyes lit up, and she said thoughtfully, actually, we have forgotten a group of demons. Those winged people who fell to darkness back then. If they are still alive, they must be members of the demon race, and their appearance perfectly matches the black winged demons that young Master Ian described. Ian nodded. I also suspect this, but if that's the case, things become very strange. That batch of winged people, according to Wulir and the others, were forced to fall due to the soul-stealing array. After so many years, they shouldn't still be controlled, right? Moreover, if it's really as we think, and the abyss is controlled by the demon race, then many of the unreasonable aspects of this attack become reasonable. Pinpointing the hidden location of the winged people with such precision, based on this alone, I have reason to suspect that the black winged demons are the masterminds behind it. But why would they have the demon race attack the winged people? If we weren't there, the winged people would have truly been annihilated. Everyone was silent. After a long while, Leal shook his head and said softly, "Young Master Ian, what you said is worth considering, but there won't be any answers in the short term. Based on this matter, I suggest that you give the winged people a period of testing. Don't trust them too quickly." Ian did not refute Leal, and nodded slightly. Actions in our territory, even if they really have problems, they won't be able to cause any trouble. Leal smiled with satisfaction. Abyss problems and doesn't have much data. I suggest that you ask the elven race and the behemoth race, if you have the opportunity. The elven race has existed the longest, and has the most wise people, while the behemoth race has defeated the most abyss instances. They might know something. Ian rolled his eyes helplessly. I'd like to, but how can you just visit those great races whenever you want? Moreover, the behemoth race has always looked down on the human race, so there's no point in talking to them. Then you need to bring both the elven race and the behemoth race under the light of the dawn. Leal looked at Ian with a smile. Young Master Ian, keep it up. We believe in you. You really know how to flatter me. Ian complained, but he didn't object. The elven race and the behemoth race were also part of his plan. If even one race in the 100 Races Alliance doesn't believe in the dawn, then it means Ian is not a qualified pope. Leal suddenly sat up straight, staring at Ian with bright eyes. The issue of flattery can be discussed later. Young Master Ian, you should also explain why you suddenly have such powerful swordsmanship. Even the master couldn't do that. As soon as he finished speaking, Markov, who was lying like a corpse, suddenly jumped up, staring at Leal with a bewildered expression. Extremely simple and perfect sword strike, beheading him. He didn't use pure strength, but rather consummate swordsmanship. Leal explained softly, but his eyes remained fixed on Ian. Markov was silent for a long time, then suddenly raised his hand and slapped himself hard. Smack. Then, Markov covered his red and swollen cheek, on the verge of tears. I'm not dreaming. Idiot. Shut up. Leal glared at Markov fiercely, then looked at Ian expectantly. Young Master Ian, did you awaken your past life's wisdom? Ian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What are you talking about? How would I know any sword skills? Leal, aren't you the clearest about my swordsmanship talent? But I clearly saw. Before he could finish speaking, Ian smiled and patted the white scabbard hidden at his waist. You will naturally master all kinds of consummate sword skills. Leal originally wanted to deny it immediately, but when he thought about the many incredible things Ian had done, and then thought about the absurdity of the MC world, after a moment of silence, Leal said firmly, I believe it. Ian smiled brightly and gently stroked the white scabbard. This sword is called White Scabbard. It is a magical drawing sword. It is because of this drawing sword that I don't need to learn, and I can instantly master all kinds of incredible sword skills. Instantly, everyone's eyes focused on the white scabbard with fervent gazes. Drawing sword. Leal murmured softly, just about to quickly ask about the situation and origin of the drawing sword. If there are no accidents, this thing is another product of the MC world. According to the absurdity of the MC world, this thing can probably be mass produced. This is amazing. We are about to take off. The more Leal thought about it, the more excited he became, and he immediately opened his mouth. Young Master Ian. But before he could speak, Harlan walked in quickly, and said in a low voice, Young Master Ian, Winged Clan Chief Wulir is here with his wife and daughter to request an audience. Instantly, Leal sat back with a dark face. Being able to see this old gentleman's wonderful facial expressions is quite interesting. Ian chuckled secretly, took the mitre that Freya handed over, and adjusted it. Adjusting his state, he instantly returned to the holy and gentle Pope. Please let them in. Thank you to the generous donation from the user who changed their nickname to something. Thank you to Book Friends 2019. May the stars protect me. Blue Star Sea Heart. Time Reader. Links 9 Heavens. And IE. Diving to the Bottom. Book Friend 2017. God Ghost Fang Shi Ng. Tornado. Human Ice Weapon. And Chenshin has no bad intentions for their monthly tickets. Thank you to the generous people for their recommendation tickets. Thank you for your support. Chapter 53. The Oath of Allegiance of the Winged People. Adjusting his posture as a holy knight of the Dawn Church, Harren opened the door and looked at the three somewhat restrained winged people in front of him. Harren said softly, "Chief Wulia, His Holiness the Pope invites you." Saying that, Wulia hurriedly grabbed Harren and whispered, "Holy Knight Harren, what kind of posture should I maintain for my first formal audience with His Holiness the Pope? Please advise me, lest I offend His Holiness." Harren raised his eyes to look at the strong man in front of him and said softly, "Just have a pious heart." After saying that, Harren turned around and led Wulia and the others through the door. Wulia hurriedly muttered the greatness of the dawn in his heart, following step by step. As soon as he entered, he saw the high-level members of the Dawn Church sitting peacefully on both sides. And in the first seat on the front was the Holy Pope, who had recently dignity rescued the winged people from fire and water and defeated the demon race's tens of thousands of troops with only 20 people. At this time, Ian was not holding the sacred and majestic trident and scepter, but just sitting there casually. But every move still showed the Pope's kindness and holiness. It's just, why does Archbishop Leo have such a cold expression? Could it be that the winged people have offended Archbishop Leo in some way? Wulia didn't dare to think too much and quickly walked forward, then knelt down with a thud. With the utmost piety and gratitude, he said in a muffled voice, "Wulia, the current patriarch of the winged people, formally greets His Holiness the Holy Pope. May the dawn last forever." Wulia's and daughter wife beside him were also like Wulia. "Crony, greetings to His Holiness the Holy Pope. May the dawn last forever." "Hania, greetings to His Holiness the Holy Pope. May the dawn last forever." "Pope, may the dawn last forever." Ian slowly raised his hand, his tone as gentle as Wulia had always seen. "You three don't need to be like this. Please rise." "Thank you, Your Holiness the Pope." The three slowly got up, bowing as much as possible, focusing their eyes on Ian's shoes. Before Wulia could say anything, Ian took the lead in speaking. "Chief Wulia, is there anything you are not used to about joining Blackwater City as a clan? Thank you for your concern, Your Holiness the Pope. Blackwater City is very good, and Father Matthew and the others are also very kind and friendly. There is nothing we are not used to," Wulia said with a look of longing. "We are looking forward to living in Blackwater City in the future, living as devout believers and children of the dawn." After saying that, Wulia hurriedly went straight to the point to express his intention for coming here. "Your Holiness the Pope, thank you for personally bringing the divine power of the dawn to rescue our winged people. Otherwise, after today, the winged people will surely disappear from the Rodri continent." Ian chuckled, shook his head, and looked at Hania with gentle eyes. "You are also devout children of the dawn." When Hania came to ask for help, I had already seen this clearly. Wulia was stunned for a moment and hurriedly said, "But," before he could finish speaking, Ian raised his hand to interrupt him. "Chief Wulia, you must understand that, as long as you have a pious heart, you are children of the dawn. May I ask, does the merciful Father need gratitude to save his children, who are in distress? Does the compassionate Lord refuse to guide his lost lambs without thanks?" Amazing. Leah and the others were shocked in their hearts. Their expressions unchanged, but the afterglow of their eyes towards Ian became more and more admiring. How did Master Ian's brain grow? How can he always say these canned phrases that can stir people's hearts so lightly? This set of rhetoric must be included in the compulsory theory course for the Dawn Church clergy. Took out a gleaming dagger. Before Leah and the others could react, he slashed his palm fiercely. Fresh blood flowed down his palm and wrist. Wulia then tore off one of his feathers, dipped it in blood, and drew a strange magic circle on the ground chest. Wulia, the 43rd generation patriarch of the winged people, hereby swears that from this day on, as long as the winged people exist, they will the glory of the dawn with blood and life, and guard the glory of His Holiness the Pope. For generations to come, the winged people will take defending the divine power of the dawn as their clan's foundation. If this oath is violated, the winged people will surely have their wings rot, their tendons break, and die from blood depletion. May this oath be witnessed by heaven and earth. A layer of hazy purple light loomed over the magic circle outlined in blood. After a long time, it disappeared without a trace, and the magic circle also disappeared together. After doing all this, Wulia stood up with a pale face, and looked at Ian. Your Holiness the Pope, this is the soul contract magic that can only be activated by the will of our entire winged clan. The winged people are poor, and have no way to repay the Dawn Church. Loyalty is our only treasure. I know that, because of the fallen feather incident in the past, our winged people are not worthy of trust, but I implore His Holiness the Pope to pay attention to our every move and let the facts speak for themselves. In the future, whatever His Holiness the Pope wants, is what our winged people want. Ian sighed and said softly, Chief Wulia, there is no need to be like this. The Dawn never questions its children. I understand, Your Holiness the Pope. Wulia pursed his lips and said firmly, but this is the only thing we can give back to the Dawn. The Dawn is selfless, but we cannot be shameless. What's more, being favored by the Dawn is also the luck of our winged people. Ian comforted Wulia for a long time, and by the way, he also talked about some of the Dawn Church's clichés. These clichés made Leah and the others' ears grow calluses. He even made the three of Wulia burst into tears. Finally, Ian felt that, if he continued to talk, Wulia would probably cut his wrist again to show his loyalty. This time, Ian asked Heron to send them out quickly. After Wulia left the city lord's mansion, Ian casually threw the luxurious crown on his head into Leisha's arms. Leaning on the sofa, he was full of exhaustion. That I went too far in pretending to be a big shot when I solved the demon race before. The winged people are now they have all been fooled. Ian didn't say the following words. Leisha smiled and said, Master Ian led 19 people and created such incredible results. Not to mention the winged people, even the elf race and other large clans would be like this. Congratulations, Master Ian, for gaining a new group of Dawn believers with powerful strength and high loyalty. Our Dawn Church has expanded once again. Ian waved. This is not important. This is the allegiance of a large clan that used to be quite powerful in the 100 Clan Alliance. Leisha couldn't help but complain. Master Ian, in your eyes, what is considered important? Of course, drawing the sword is important. Before Ian could answer, Leah looked at Ian eagerly. Master Ian, now that there are no outsiders, what exactly does drawing the sword mean? Can it be mass produced? This is related to the future of our Dawn Church. Why don't we go to the Dawn Heavenly Kingdom to practice it now? Ian nodded pretentiously. Drawing the sword is a very awesome weapon. Eyes of Leah and Markov and the others. He gently patted his thigh, got up and said, let's listen to the next chapter. For the first time, Ian saw Leah's aggrieved expression, which could be described as impatient. He laughed in his heart, but Ian still put on a straight face. What? Do you have any objections? I just led you to a great victory today, and rushed back for half a day in a hurry, and now I'm exhausted. Can you bear to let the great Pope answer your questions now? After saying that, Ian stepped forward and patted Leah on the shoulder, saying meaningfully, leave the expectations for the future. This is also a small trick to make life more interesting. Hearing this, Freeney looked suddenly curious. What trick? Leaving blank space. Chapter 54. Young Master Ian. I want to learn Batao Japsu. Grand and impactful war, one that could have easily led to the complete annihilation of a once renowned race within the 100 Races Alliance. Point was reduced to a single page in the Book of Honor of the Aurora Church. Casually flipped over and didn't make a big deal out of it. Point Google searched Wakan. After all, the Aurora Church maintained a high standard. If even a war they were destined to win required a missionary convention, even broadcasting it 3 times a day, constantly sending people out to boast about how miraculous the war was, then the Aurora Church's prestige would be completely lost. However, just because Ian didn't talk about it didn't mean more detailed, even legendary versions wouldn't circulate. As the saying goes, after returning to the city, the erudite scholars of the winged race would defend the Aurora through discourse. From the second day the winged race arrived in Aurora City, people frequently requested them to talk about how the great Pope had won this impossible war. Later on, even old Matthew invited Uriel and his people to give a lecture at the Aurora Cathedral. Firstly, to promote the power of the Aurora Church and strengthen the believers' faith. Secondly, to help the wind race integrate into Blackwater City as quickly as possible through this method. Third lie. Himself was also very curious about how 20 people had annihilated tens of thousands of powerful demons. He couldn't get enough of such stories. As for Ian, he slept soundly for an entire day. He had indeed been too tired lately. The development of the Aurora Church was entirely under his control, and every time he wanted to do his own work, unexpected events would occur. Ian had even stayed up all night the day before going to support the winged race. Ian's sleep made Lesire and the others very happy, as they had all clearly seen Ian's recent hard work. Only Royal suffered, pondering all day and night what Batau Japsu actually meant. 3 days after the war ended, the joy of victory still lingered in the skies above Blackwater City, and countless believers still went to observe the head of the Mind Flayer leader hanging at the city gate every day. The disposal site of the Mind Flayer corpses outside the city was also crowded with tourists. However, the situation within the city gradually returned to its usual rhythm, the others accelerating the ripening of crops. They visited the newly built chicken farm and the magical square chickens inside. Old Matthew still had other work to do to guide many Aurora believers. The only difference was that recently, a group of newcomers with wings had joined these activities. Early morning, Uriel led the Winged Warriors to the Holy See garrison for combat training, while his wife led the elderly, weak, women, and children of the winged race to engage in construction, farmland reclamation, improvement of residences. From now on, they would basically settle in Blackwater City. Since the 4th Anti-Demon War, this was the first time anyone had been willing to accept the winged race, and it was the benevolent and noble Aurora, and the children of Aurora. The winged race cherished this opportunity. Lesire and the others were also carrying out the work Ian had arranged before, the large-scale construction of Blackwater City. Taking advantage of the winged race's joining, and the Aurora's invincible reputation established by the great victory, Lesire and the others took the opportunity to urge the citizens of Blackwater City to tear down the previous buildings, city walls, residences, streets. With the help of the winged race, they were all torn down to prepare for the MC World's resource transformation of Blackwater City in the future. After finishing the morning reading, Hania followed the other believers to fetch water at the city lord's mansion, and then went to the farmland to collect the day's food. Like the other believers, after piously praising Aurora, Hania ate the instantly ripened crops while lost in thought. What are Pope and the others doing? Surely, they must be worrying about the future development of the Aurora Church. Hassle. Accompanied by an impassioned slogan, the sharp sword Dora followed Ian's fleeting figure, sweeping past the armored zombie in front of him. The next moment, Ian twisted his body in a way that completely defied human physiology and quickly returned. The white scabbard in his hand bloomed with knife marks on the armored zombie's body. Disordered, rough, illogical, but each strike was more brutal than the last zombie. For a time, the last zombie was even chopped into the sky. At this moment, Ian's eyes narrowed, and he quickly pressed the knife back into its sheath, grasped the hilt with his right palm, and slightly bent over on Lesire and the others' faces. The wind blowing across the lake, everything in the world slowed down at this moment. Ian entered bullet time. When the zombie was about to land, under Royal's shocked gaze, Ian once again displayed the strike that had instantly killed the Mind Flayer leader. Stepping out, his figure instantly blended into the wind. Only the sharp aura swept past. Clang. When everyone's vision detached from that fierce strike and refocused on Ian, the zombie behind him also exploded into a pile of materials. Ian didn't turn his head and slowly sheathed his knife fist and gave a thumbs up. Young Master Ian. Too awesome. Hania was currently racking her brains for the future of the Aurora Church. The Great Pope, carrying the weight forward for the believers of the Aurora Church. After waking up from a full day of sleeping in, he chose to bring Royal and the others into the MC world for the first time, to show off with Batau Japsu. So to speak, the essence of the Aurora Church lies in showing off. This is Batau Japsu. Ian smiled and walked back, handing the white scabbard to Royal, who had a face full of longing, and said softly, "This is a mod in the MC world. The so-called Batau Japsu is actually a kind of ultimate assassination swordsmanship. The Latest novels are first published at Indian Novel Network. Drawing the sword with thunderous force. The moment of drawing the sword is the moment of deciding life and death. However, the Batau Japsu mod is even more magical. Ian pointed to the white scabbard in Royal's hand. This knife is called White Scabbard, and it's not a very powerful Batau Japsu. It doesn't even have its own SAS skills, but it still has basic swordsmanship abilities, just like the swift draw I just used. Ian took out a wooden doll and handed it to Lesire. For you, it's still difficult to understand the details of Batau Japsu, so I only require you to be able to use it. Batau Japsu will greatly improve your strength and combat skills. After saying that, Ian beckoned the others to retreat and took the white scabbard from Royal's hand. I said, Batau Japsu is incredibly magical. Even someone like me, who knows nothing about swordsmanship, can instantly transform into a swordsmanship master, as long as I take up Batau Japsu. However, words are empty. Next, Ian paused, then decisively said, Royal, use all your strength and fight Lesire with a single strike. Lesire, clear your mind. Don't think too much. Let this wooden doll guide your body. Yes. Diamond enchanted sword, and the sharp aura around him spread out layer upon layer. Father has become stronger again. Markov muttered in a low voice. Ian stood confidently with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, with a single strike, Lesire won't lose. But, no buts, just watch. Ian raised his hand and interrupted Markov's words. Surging point on the other side was Lesire, whose sword stance was not even skilled and whose aura was weak. The gap between the two sides was vast just by looking at their auras. But when Ian shouted start, Freen and the others were surprised to find that Lesire's figure, like Ian's before, had blended into the wind. Clang. The sound of the sword crying only entered everyone's ears at this time. Immediately afterwards, there was another sound of air exploding. When the wind calmed down, the situation on the field made Markov and the others' pupils shrink suddenly, with shocked expressions on their faces. The Forbes family's recognized strongest knight, second only to old Forbes. Royal, a well-known swordsman in the Principality of Bilka. At this time, he maintained the posture of drawing his sword, standing stiffly in place, as dazed and shocked as they were, and even a few drops of cold sweat were dripping from his temples. And Lesire's Batau Japsu wooden doll was resting on his neck. A trace of blood appeared on Royal's neck, but it healed in the blink of an eye. But Lesire's expression was not that of a victor at all. She seemed even more confused than Royal. Lesire had no idea how this strike had been unleashed. Ian walked forward, moved the wooden doll from Royal's neck, and then said with a smile, how does it feel? Royal lowered his head and replied in a deep voice, as your previous strike, reaching the pinnacle. This is Batau Japsu. Ian smiled and raised the wooden doll in his hand. No need to learn. As long as you get it in your hands, you can immediately become a top swordsman rare in the world, mastering incredible swordsmanship. It is a true artifact that can allow ordinary people to create legends. This is also the confidence of our Aurora Church to loudly proclaim the Eastern expedition against the demons. Now, what are your thoughts? Royal closed his mouth and stared quietly at the wooden doll in Ian's hand. After a long time, Royal threw the diamond enchanted sword in his hand far away. His eyes were fixed on Ian with determination. Young Master Ian, I want to learn Batau Japsu. Thanks to Readers 1436, Woohoo, Book Friend 2024, and Zyanglan for the monthly tickets. Thank you for the recommendation ticket support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 TNT Replicator suspended above the continent of Roderick. Leisure, a maid whose swordsmanship was even more pathetic than Ian's, displayed a sophisticated swordsmanship that was equally unattainable for Leal's swordsmanship honed in hundreds of near-death experiences. It was completely killed by the drawing sword puppet that Ian had just made in less than a minute. Leal couldn't describe what kind of mentality he should have. Perhaps there was anger towards the drawing sword. Its existence stifled all knights who were dedicated to the sword. But at his core, he was not a pure swordsman. He was the Grand Butler of the Forbes family and a red-clothed Archbishop of the Church of the Dawn. Based on this, Leal had to admit that the existence of the drawing sword was definitely a blessing. With this so-called module, whether it was Ian's safety, the enhancement of the Church of the Dawn's strength, or the rise of the Forbes family, it was as effective as the endless water that solved Blackwater City's deadly drought crisis. Moreover, the drawing sword was a patent of their Church of the Dawn. Why couldn't Leal use it? Sword. Leal had already seen his future of slashing the four horsemen of calamity. Young Master Ian, I want to learn the drawing sword. Leal made the request again with a serious face. This time, Markov and the others, who had reacted, also surrounded Ian with expectant eyes. Young Master Ian, we also want to learn the drawing sword. Ian smiled and comforted the excited crowd. Definitely pass on this kind of good thing to you. However, the drawing sword is something that relies on practice. Even if I explain it to you for 10 days or half a month, you may not be able to understand it. It just so happens that the Winged Clan's matter has been resolved, and the large-scale construction of Blackwater City is also on track. We can safely stay in the MC world for a while. During this time, we can explore while I teach you about the drawing sword. After saying that, Ian shook his head with a sigh. The drawing swords you have come into contact with now are all the most ordinary things. This thing will constantly evolve and become stronger as you explore the MC world. The quick draw IAI you saw is the most basic and weakest sword technique. To put it bluntly, isn't quick draw IAI basically a high-level normal attack for all drawing swords? This thing has no CD limit point generally speaking. This skill is used for traveling point. Quick draw IAI allows for a charge of nearly 9 meters at a time. With enough practice, you can even add a big jump in the middle to perform an aerial quick draw IAI point. Isn't it the Harmony train head of the MC World version for traveling? If you wear a suit of armor made of gold MC World version of the 100-ton king, and in the case of dual wielding swords, quick draw IAI can also be immune to a lot of attack damage. For example, the arrows of Skeleton White will be directly bounced away by quick draw IAI point. Of course, this kind of operation depends on the timing, but Leal can definitely do it easily. Therefore, Ian has always felt that the drawing sword will not kill swordsmanship. On the contrary, allowing sword masters like Leal to use the drawing sword will have the strengthening effect of adding fuel to the fire. The sword skills of the drawing sword will eventually bloom with the most dazzling light on sword masters. Ian doesn't count casually to encourage everyone. The so-called more powerful sword skills really stimulated Leal. The old gentleman had studied swords for a lifetime, and he had never seen such a powerful sword technique as quick draw IAI, which was enough to subvert his imagination. Stronger young Master Ian, don't keep us in suspense. Leal pleaded with a face. What kind of sword skills are stronger? If you do any more blank space operations, I'm afraid I'll have insomnia all the time. Recently, young Master Ian, tell us. Just say it simply. You know, I've studied swords for a lifetime, and I really can't resist this temptation. Facts have proved that, if the old gentleman breaks the casserole and asks to the end, then he is even more entangled. In the end, Ian really had no way to get rid of Leal's entanglement, especially when this white-haired old man looked at him with pleading eyes. It made his but cold point. Ian took a step back to avoid Leal, stood next to Leisure, and said helplessly, don't be too ambitious. You won't be able to sleep even more if you know too much. It's normal for me to have occasional insomnia at this age. Ian sighed and said meaningfully, a sword that can shatter space. I'll just say so much. Space. The newest and most complete novels are first published at. The ability to involve space is a forbidden curse that is patented by the demons in the entire continent. Only the demons, strictly speaking. Only the 7 demon kings of such ability. Point. Could it be that the drawing sword can be developed to the point where it can be comparable to the 7 demon kings? Thinking of this result, Leal's old face flushed with excitement. Point. But seeing Ian's appearance of keeping his mouth shut, in the end, he didn't continue to ask. Point. Ian also breathed a sigh of relief. Point. In good conscience, He didn't brag. Point isn't the dimensional slash of the Yamato a space slash. If it is placed on the continent of Roderick, it should have more outstanding effect. But if you want to rely on a drawing sword to defeat the 7 demon kings, you should go to sleep. Point the drawing sword can't wipe out a city of hundreds of thousands of people in one move at least. Ian's existing drawing sword module can't do it. Young Master Ian, what are we going to do next? Develop the drawing sword? Leal looked at Ian with great interest, and the latter slightly. Not only that, but the construction of Dawn Holy City must be accelerated. The lower world needs to be explored as soon as possible, and then we have to go on a long trip to find the sea and the end. There are lots of things to do. Ian stretched his waist. I hope there will be no sudden events to disturb me next, so that I can quietly advance the progress in the MC world. The development of the Church of the Dawn must be accelerated. In short, let's get active first. You go and make the puppets first. I have given the synthesis table to Freya. Back, each of them was carrying a puppet. What's next, young Master Ian? Leal said with a serious face. Kill monsters and evolve the drawing sword? No. Ian walked towards his room and said quietly, we need a few experiments. 1 day later, East Rift Valley of Blackwater City. Point above Ian's Sky Island. He quietly waited for Leisure and the others to act according to his instructions. After a long time, after Leisure filled in the last piece of the puzzle, Ian raised his hand to give the order. Start. The next moment, accompanied by Leisure knocking off the auxiliary block, the piston pushed, and a flashing TNT quickly fell. Point, but Present did not pay attention to the falling TNT, but just looked at everyone at the TNT still hanging on a multi-block structure in the sky, suppressing their excitement, and asked, young Master Ian, is this considered a success? Auxiliary block with a redstone detector, accompanied by the redstone detector's red light constantly flashing. For a time, the hissing sound of the TNT being lit, accompanied by the flashing TNT constantly falling. One after another, explosions occurred below. A satisfied smile finally appeared on Ian's face. It's done. Chapter 56. Let's go to hell. Experimental data proves that the TNT duplicator, a multi-block structure based on the bug characteristics of the MC world, can still be used in the Road continent. To say it's strange, it is indeed very strange. The underlying logic of the TNT duplicator lies in using code conflicts between slime blocks, TNT, and blocks to create a bug loop that his imagination is still too poor. To be honest, Ian doesn't really want to get to the bottom of it and figure out what's going on. He's not a scholar in the strict sense. Perhaps the bug code of the MC world is attached to every MC block. Or perhaps the MC world gate has implanted some small viruses, similar to 360 security guard and little bird wallpaper, into the Road continent. But none of this is important. Ian just needs to know that this is a good thing. The significance of this successful experiment lies not only in the fact that bug multi-block structures similar to TNT duplicators can appear in the Road continent in the future, becoming miracles that protect the Church of the Dawn and maintain the golden image of the Church of the Dawn. It can also give the Church of the Dawn more and more terrifying war resources at the technical level. And from a short-term perspective, Ian can completely move things like cobblestone generators to Blackwater City. In the future, when building on a large scale, he will save himself from having to run to the MC world to move supplies. The bug characteristics of the MC world can appear in the Road continent, which is a considerable celebration. However, things that are as festive as this, or even more festive, are still happening. After briefly instructing Lael and the others on the basic use of the katana craft and slash mod yesterday, Ian took them away from Dawn Holy City, all the way east, explaining the information of katana craft and slash, while hurrying on the road. Finally, before dusk, they found the sea point and successfully discovered a shipwrecked treasure not far from the sea point. Even more fortunate, there happened to be a bottle of experience potion in the treasure chest of the shipwrecked treasure point. As the saying goes, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is good luck. 4 or 5 times that is destiny in me point. And when this series of accidents happened, Ian couldn't help but wonder if the Dawn really existed and was him look for 3 or 4 days. After all, the MC world, which has now turned into reality, is not like in the game, where you can hold down W and not let go, and you can walk through a continent in minutes. The real MC world is not smaller than the road continent at all. Based on its characteristics of loading mods, it can even be said to be an infinite world. But Ian just pondered for a moment and accepted it as a matter of course. What's wrong with being lucky? This is the compensation he deserves after being sent to this world by the 100-ton king. So, last night, Ian decisively took them to try out the teleportation coordinates given by our men before and returned to Dawn Holy City. The purpose of this trip was to find experience potions. Now that the goal has been achieved, there is no need to run around outside. Ian still has to come back to Dawn Holy City to build another portal. Ian didn't look for Lael and mark up for the experience potion experiment who was level 57 when he entered the MC world. The current level will only be higher experience value calculation. The experience required to upgrade from 0 to level 15 is 2 times the current level plus 7. That is to say, Freeney needs 25 experience points to upgrade to level 10. According to Freeney, her experience bar is only 1/3 short. With a little luck, Freeney will directly upgrade. And luck did indeed favor this little guy. That bottle of experience potion smashed out points of experience, so Freeney crossed the threshold, and after Freeney upgraded, Ian directly took them back to the road continent. The most authoritative instructor and Cardinal Lael of the Church of the Dawn judged that Freeney already possessed a basic physical fitness of a knight. In other words, Freeney became an ordinary knight. Leisha and the others were more or less at this stage. On the contrary, Ian, who was also eager to test himself, one's own strength can also be confirmed on Ian's side. According to the meeting and research conducted by Ian and the others overpass, a preliminary result was finally obtained. Level 1 to 20 in MC level is the existence that initially possesses the name of Knight and Magician in the Road Continent. That is, Ordinary Knight and Ordinary Magician. 21 to 40 are powerful knights and powerful mages. Harlan and the other knights are now basically approaching level 40.41 to 60 are awesome knights and awesome mages. Markov is currently in this level range, reaching the level of Lael in the past. Further up, Ian only concluded that above 61, that is, Lael's current strength, is the super awesome knight realm of Forbes. As for whether it is from level 61 to how much, Ian has not calculated it strictly. With these data, the rest is much easier to say. Ian has already begun to prepare. When the data is more complete, he will launch the first realm division table in the Road Continent. The latest novels are first published at subdivide the current vague strength realm of knights and magicians to individuals. This is also the Dawn system in Ian's vision. If this matter is really completed, it will benefit the present and the future. Specific benefits are countless. Of course, the names of the strength realms of knights and magicians must be more standardized, and you can't really use anything awesome or not awesome to mark them. But even so, Ian wouldn't be so happy. The most important thing is, theoretically, the highest level that can be reached in the normal progress of the MC world is level 21,863. Of course, if you use command codes, then Ian didn't say anything. Don't talk about more than 20,000 levels, even if it's 5,000 levels. After reaching that point, Lael can also cut the 7 deadly sins Demon King into radish slices with one knife. The kind with carvings. Even more surprises are coming. Before time traveling, Ian happened to have read 100 useless MC techniques while studying bioelectricity. One of the techniques is called experience pool. That's right. In the MC world, experience can also be farmed. This means that, if nothing unexpected happens, you can transform from an ordinary person into a super invincible spiral ascending explosive awesome knight or mage. You just need to take a bath in the experience pool. But Ian won't do it. Just kidding. That thing is in 100 useless MC techniques. Does Ian still have to spend time learning it? What do bioelectricity players need experience points for? Isn't there villages for enchanting? Why bother consuming your own hard-earned experience? But Ian is not particularly regretful. They will definitely not be able to master such a soaring realm. Moreover, it is not impossible for him to succeed if he studies it himself. Even if he can't research it, leveling up in the MC world is not difficult. Currently, based on the particularity of experience points, Ian can already mass produce powerful knights above level 20. Isn't mass producing awesome knights a good thing? Returning to the MC world from the eastern Great Rift Valley. Two consecutive important experiments have achieved complete success and the desired results. Ian naturally took Leisha and the others to celebrate. In his happiness, Ian also rarely drank some wine with Lael and the others. Young Master Ian, your experiments are all over. Next, are we going to start honing katana craft and slash? After drinking a glass of wine, Lael immediately couldn't wait to urge Ian also be accelerated. So, in order to speed up the development of the Church of the Dawn and the MC world, and also to make our katana craft and slash hone stronger, I will take you to a place later. Leisha leaned over and looked at Ian with a curious look. Young Master Ian, where are we going? The jungle that has not been explored over there. No, we are going to hell. Thank you to Zio's A3969 boss for the reward. The boss is domineering. Easy. QIU. Shushan Markson, Book Friend 2019, Rogercoin, Junior Weedu. My hang is online bosses for the monthly tickets. Thank you to the bosses for the recommended tickets. Chapter 57. Its scientific name is the Nether. Its stage name is Hell. Leisha and the others knew about the concept of Hell. Speaking of which, Ian told them. At that time, when preparing the Church of the Dawn, Ian felt that starting a church from scratch without any reference would be more difficult. So, he slightly borrowed the theoretical framework of the mainstream sects from his old home. Hell and Heaven thus appeared in the records of the Oracle Sutra. The fourth chapter of the Oracle Sutra, the chapter on good and evil, begins by introducing the concepts of heaven and hell frying to repent for past sins. Conversely, the good ascend to heaven, stay by the side of the dawn, listen to the teachings of the dawn, and enjoy peace eternal. Leisha and the others still remember this section very clearly. After all, those cruel punishments were simply appalling, and it was hard to forget them. When Ian introduced each type of cruel punishment in detail, Leisha and the others once suspected that Ian was psychologically twisted and perverted because of the decline of the Forbes family. Such cruel punishments. So the concept that hell is the destination of evil people after death is still deeply rooted in people's hearts. And now, the holy Pope Ian Forbes, the dawn god recognized by everyone. Hell. A long time, Leisha, who was the first to react, hugged Ian, not letting go of any opportunity to take advantage of him. With a sad face, she pleaded, Young Master Ian, why go so far? The Church of the Dawn is about to be great, and the Forbes family will regain its glory. More than 8,000 people from the human and winged commit races are waiting behind you for your most glorious guidance. You must not commit suicide. Speaking, Leisha inexplicably paused for a moment, and then earnestly said, at least, let me leave offspring for you, for the great dawn, before we talk about it. Ian pushed her away forcefully, reaching out and knocking on Leisha's face, ignoring the deformation of that delicate pretty face. Then, he wiped the saliva from his palm with a look of disgust. I misspoke, it's not hell, it's the Nether. The Nether? Lael looked at Ian a little puzzled, and the latter nodded slightly. That's right. The Nether is a dimensional world existing in the MC world. The scenery doesn't look very friendly, but the Nether many precious resources, which are extremely valuable treasures for us, both now and in the future. In short, seeing is believing. You will understand if you come with me. After saying that, Ian didn't continue to waste words. To explain point, he took out obsidian, and although produced, began to build the frame point. Speaking of this obsidian, Ian remembers clearly that this thing was just a relatively common volcanic rock gemstone in his old home. The main component is silicon dioxide. Its hardness cannot be said to be indestructible, and even after processing, obsidian daggers and obsidian bracelets are actually quite brittle. But this thing has become one of the hardest minerals in the MC world, which is quite outrageous. Can just use this thing to make city. Isn't the demon's Leviathan known as a city-breaking giant demon? And there is no city in the world that they can't break. Ian wants to see if the Leviathan can break through the obsidian city wall. The construction of the Nether portal can be done with eyes closed for most old block people. So In the blink of an eye, Lael and the others saw a square door appearing in front of them, covered with a thin layer of purple light bright guaranteed. How can the words of the Pope of the Church of the Dawn be false? Lael thought for a while, and said faintly, a few days ago, when you asked the original Blackwater City Defense Army to conquer the Beast Forest, you said that the Dawn also loves them, and when they come back, you will personally welcome them and cleanse them. Is there a problem? Ian asked back. Didn't they not come back? It can only be said smile, that the Dawn's love is too heavy, and they have no chance to bear it. Markov rolled his eyes secretly. More than 30 people attacked the Beast Forest in more than 30 ways? Can the Dawn's love not be heavy? Immediately. After saying that, without waiting for Lael and the others, he took the lead and stepped into the nether portal. Seeing this, Lael and the others could not continue to hesitate, comforting themselves in their hearts that Ian would not deceive them, these loyal old buddies. Harboring the last trace of trust in Ian's integrity, everyone stepped into the portal one after another. When the last Lael also walked in, Dawn Holy City returned to tranquility. Strong distortion. From the moment they stepped into the door, Lael and the others knew they were ash. This feeling of the world spinning. It's like being stuffed into a tumble dryer and spun dry for more than an hour. If Lael and the others knew what a washing machine was, they would describe it this way. Fortunately, this feeling only lasted for a moment. After standing on solid ground, the world stopped spinning. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, the pungent smell of sulfur made many people unable to control themselves, and sneezed a few times. There was a red light, and rolling heat waves. Looking up, even the knowledgeable Lael was dumbfounded. Ocean of lava, and on the lava sea, there are many white blocky ghosts making shrill cat calls. Finished. They were still fooled by Ian. If this place is not hell, then the abyss can be called the Garden of Eden. Freen stood beside Ian. Her knuckles gripping his sleeves tightly were white, and her lips were slightly purple. Young Master Ian, didn't you say this is not hell? Yes. Ian said seriously, its scientific name is the Nether, its stage name is hell, but we are doing theology, so let's be rigorous, and call it the scientific name. The stage name is too frivolous. At this moment, the last trace of trust in Ian's integrity in everyone's hearts was also shattered. Lael, standing beside Ian, looked at the lava sea in the distance, and then looked back at the portal. Just a moment ago, they were in the beautiful Dawn Heaven, and now, did they go to hell? It be that what the Oracle Sutra said, heaven and hell, are only a step away, is understood in this way. Young Master Ian, why don't we go back and prepare first? Lael couldn't help but make a humble request. Staying here really made him feel a little uncomfortable. He would rather fight the demons than smell the smell of hell again. Really go back? Mine's here. Of course. Even if there is, what is here? Realizing it, Lael widened his eyes in disbelief. Ian raised his hand and pointed to the blocks under Lael and others' feet. Gold mines. The next moment, lowered their heads together and was immediately fascinated by the ore mixed with gold on the ground. Seeing this, Ian sighed with regret. The same. There are other precious resources. I was thinking of taking you to make a fortune, so that our Church of the Dawn would not lack gold coins to spend in the future. After saying that, he pretended to turn around. Since everyone doesn't want to stay here, let's go back. At the moment of turning around, Ian secretly smiled in his heart and began to count down. 3, 2, wait. Young Master Ian. Ian's arm, his face full of determination. Young Master Ian, you are right. Where is this hell? It is clearly the Nether containing treasures. Speaking, Lael and others took out diamond pickaxes at the same time. Their expressions were firm, and their eyes were full of the reflection of gold mines. This is not hell, it is the real heaven. Chapter 58, Evil Spirit Badminton. Who has played it says it is good. From ancient times, wealth has stirred people's hearts, and gold, even more so. The Nether possesses many easily found gold ore veins, and this alone is enough to make it a paradise in the eyes of Lear and the others. The Church of Dawn is developing very well, with food when they need food, and an army when they need an army. In the most barren area of this 100-race alliance territory, achieving such accomplishments already surpasses 90% of the cities. But this does not mean that the Church of Dawn's current development has no shortcomings. The Church of Dawn is poor. It has jurisdiction over Blackwater City, with more than 5,000 newly fed people, plus more than 3,000 desolate winged people. Estimating that they can scrape together 100 gold coins would be considered wealthy. What can 100 gold coins buy? 50 low-grade horses, 100 finely forged swords, 10 sets of armor. Sustain 100 families in the royal capital above the poverty line for a year. Admittedly, with the MC world, weapons, armor, war horses, food, there is no shortage of anything, and the quality is even better. But this does not mean that Ian does not need gold coins. In the early stages of the Church of Dawn's development, his demand for gold coins is still quite large. After all, not everyone can enter the MC world, nor can everyone use MC equipment. Purchases still need to be made. Moreover, the papal army in the future cannot always use food as wages, or even directly bind them with faith. Asking them to fight for Ian without wages. Ian is not so unscrupulous. A mature and stable economic system must be built, with the Nether, a good place that produces gold. The construction of the Church of Dawn's economic system will also embark on a fast track point. Finally, the Dawn economic system replaces the Rodri continent economic system, with economic control and faith control walking on two legs. The benefits of this are self-evident. And in the short term, having money in your pocket keeps you calm. The Dawn economic system replaces the Roderick continent economic system, with economic control and faith control walking on two legs. Location of the first arrival in the Nether is actually not bad. Not because there are nether gold mines right outside the door, but because the existence of that lava sea is very helpful for Ian to find the Nether fortress. As for resources such as soul sand and nether wart, or even ancient debris, although they have not been seen yet, now that they are here, they will come sooner or later. This time, Ian plans to have Leah and the others stay directly in the Nether for 3 or 4 days. The demolition work on the Blackwater City side will also be almost completed in 3 or 4 days. When the time comes, let Leisure and the other nuns do construction, show off some MC miracles, and pave the way for their future transition from nuns to holy mothers. In addition, you can't sleep in the Nether. After staying up for 3 big nights here, you can go back and brush for phantoms at night. By then, slow falling potions can also be made in batches. After sorting out his plans, Ian took out an iron pickaxe, walked to Leisure's side, and squeezed her away. Nether gold ore is not mined like this. Saying that, he quickly started working, swinging the pickaxe, and in no time, a nether gold ore was smashed out. Unlike Leah and the others who only dropped a few gold nuggets after digging, Ian dug out a whole piece of original nether gold ore. Seeing this, Leah straightened up and looked at Ian in puzzlement. Young Master Ian, why is the ore we mine different? Why doesn't yours drop gold nuggets? Ian waved the iron pickaxe in his hand and smiled. Pay attention to my pickaxe. Expressions of Leah and the others. Ian coughed dryly and waved his hand. Muscle reaction. Don't mind it. Since Ian said so, Leah and the others didn't get to the bottom of it. Ian continued. Remember, in the future, when mining gold, or in the Nether, is there a difference? Of course. Ian put his hands on his hips and smiled. How many gold nuggets do you guys drop at a time when mining gold ore? It's hard to say. Freen touched her chin and recalled, then said uncertainly, sometimes it drops 2 or 3, and sometimes it can have 6. After saying that, Freen happily clapped her hands. Young Master Ian, with the gold purity of the Dawn Heaven, 1 gold nugget can probably be exchanged for dozens of gold coins at least. In just a short while, I have mined 12 gold nuggets, earning so many gold coins for our Church of Dawn. Then he put the furnace aside. He threw the gold ore into the furnace to smelt, and after a while, a freshly baked gold ingot was in hand. Casually weighing the gold ingot in his hand, Ian turned around and looked at the dumbfounded Freen and the others. Do you still remember how many gold nuggets make up a gold ingot? Went to find Gasts in the distance to play badminton with his hands behind his back. After a long time, Leah finally reacted and silently started to calculate with his fingers. 1 gold ore can drop 1 gold ingot with fortune point. Without fortune, taking the average value of 3 gold nuggets, you need to mine 3 ores to make up 1 gold ingot. Point back and forth. 2 gold ingots, 18 gold nuggets, are lost out of thin air. Convert it. Can't convert it at all. That's all real money. All gone. Markov, who had just come over, covered his face with a grievance. Father, why did you hit me? Lear trembled, his voice sad. How much money did I waste just now? Then hit yourself. I didn't mind many. Markov stared at Lear resentfully the ground point, but he didn't dare to smash the pickaxe at all. I am the Cardinal Archbishop of the Church of Dawn. My face is useful. What are you talking about? Is my face useless? Stop talking nonsense. I understand. Leisha held the iron pickaxe in her hand tightly and carefully began to collect the remaining gold ore. About a few minutes later. Beautiful smash. Go to hell. A sword shot the fireball back, killing the ghast in the air. Ian rubbed his wrist comfortably. Although the ghast tear fell into the lava and disappeared, this was also a long lost badminton exercise for Ian. After coming to the Roderick continent point, happiness is the most important thing. Looking back at the listless Leisure and the others walking behind him, Ian smiled and joked. Made a fortune? Lear's face instantly became more bitter than Markov's. Don't make fun of us, young Master Ian. You should have told us about these precautions earlier. We wasted so much gold. I have to have a chance too. Ian rolled his eyes. As soon as you saw the gold, you shouted about paradise and making a fortune and rushed up. You're young Master Ian. Okay, I'm not kidding. How much gold did you mine? Hearing this, Freen immediately jumped out. I recorded it. Young Master Ian. There are 9 gold ingots in total, just enough to make a gold block, but there could have been more. Freen became a little depressed as she spoke. Ian scratched Freen's nose. It's okay. In the Nether, gold is not a treasure. There's as much of this stuff as you want. It's more than enough to build you a golden house. Mining is already the slowest way. When you encounter piglins later, I'll let you know what it means to earn faster than robbing. Everyone still trusts what Ian said, except for the sentence the Nether is not hell. Furthermore, these 9 gold ingots combined into a gold block, sold out, can sell for nearly 10,000 gold coins at least. In any case, they have picked up money, so there is no need to be too greedy, and there is no need to continue to mope. After adjusting her mentality, Leisha looked curiously at Ian, who was gesturing with a diamond enchanted sword. Young Master Ian, what are you doing? An extremely miserable cry. It's quite scary. Shuddering, Leisha hid behind Ian. Young Master Ian, why don't we continue to look for gold? Or find the piglins you mentioned? Ian smiled and said, but after playing badminton, you can drop ghast tears. Do you know what ghast tears are used for? Lear and the others were stunned for a moment. This after saying that, smile is so familiar. It's like when Ian was talking about gold or just now, he smiled like this. After a moment of silence, Lear said uncertainly, could it be more important than gold? Remember the regeneration arrows you used when fighting the demons before? Ah. He paused again and leaned closer to Ian with a flattering face. Young Master Ian, how do you fight this thing? Ian rolled his eyes and whispered a few words to Markov. Markov slightly thoughtfully, then stood on the cliff by the lava sea. Reward. Boss is generous. Chapter 59. Working only provides a living. Robbery makes you rich. Charge up, swing the sword, and then failed to receive the ball. The ghast's feather shuttlecock landed. Boom. Accompanied by a sudden appearance of a large pit and an explosion. Markov became an astronaut. TSK. Ian shook his head with disappointment. This unlucky kid. Even letting the fireball hit his face would be better than letting it explode. Explosions do the most damage. Glancing at Lear, the old respectable man still had a calm expression, but his fists were clenched tightly. Looking down, you could see Lear tiptoeing, secretly peering to see if Markov was alright. Presumably, his heart was in his throat. But seeing Markov just climb up, covered in dirt, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief, acting as if it was none of his business. Little bit of explosion damage won't kill him, at most it will hurt a little. Lear's expression visibly showed a moment of embarrassment, then quickly raised his fist to cover his mouth and coughed. Master Ian is overthinking it. I wasn't worried about him. I just think this idiot got Master Ian's true teachings, but can't even do this little thing. It's simply too disappointing. It seems like he should have extra training. A paladin of the Church of the Dawn cannot be a good for nothing. Stubborn. Ian curled his lip and didn't expose Lear's true face. TCH. Markov rubbed his palms, recovered from the damage, and took out his weapon again. Effort is ultimately rewarded. Like how Markov After being bombed for a while, finally discovered that shields can also block fireballs. And after being bombarded by the ghast for a long time, Markov finally seized the opportunity to slap the ghost's fireball back with his sword. Instantly, the ghast was killed instantly by its own shuttlecock. At this moment, Markov finally understood the fun of playing Ian badminton. Looking at the ghast in the sky, that instantly fell and was killed, Markov remembered Ian's teaching, focused his energy in his dantian, and roared angrily, "Go to hell." Very good. Ian clapped and walked forward with a smile. How does it feel to break through yourself? Feels great. There's a kind of. Markov frowned and pondered for a long time about how to describe it, and after a long time, he seriously said, there is a feeling of relief like being constipated for a week and then suddenly having a smooth bowel movement. Ian's mouth twitched, and after a long while, he sighed and patted Markov's shoulder. Well described, but don't describe it in the future. But in any case, you did a great job. The battle with the ghast is of great help in honing your ability to seize opportunities. Markov smiled foolishly and eagerly said, it's all thanks to Master Ian's good teaching, and that ghast here. Markov subconsciously opened his backpack and glanced at it, but besides the messy equipment, there was no ghast here. Looking back in confusion, after a long while, Markov said blankly, where's my ghast here? It's gone. Ian replied with a frenemy pointed to the lava pool in the distance. Just now when the ghast died, everything it dropped went into the lava pool. Maybe you can jump down and look for it. Maybe it didn't burn up. At this moment, the expression on Markov's face became extremely dejected, looking like his father had died. He had worked so hard and been blown up for so long, and finally got a one-hit kill, but the spoils were gone. How could this be summed up as just a trick of fate? Perhaps feeling that Markov's face and attitude were really affecting Unity, Ian still spoke to comfort him. Alright, don't be so depressed. Anyway, through the battle with the ghost, you've honed your combat skills. That's the most important gain. Markov said dejectedly, but, didn't you say that ghast tears are more important treasures than gold? Aren't there enough ghasts to farm? Ian beckoned. Letitia, Frenny, come over. I'll teach you how to farm ghast tears. As soon as he finished speaking, the maids excitedly took out their diamond swords and lined up. Master Ian, we're ready to play badminton, Letitia said with a firm face. No. Ian smiled and took out a pile of fishing rods that he had prepared long ago and distributed them to them. This time, let's use a special method. The newest novels are first published at. After a while Markov watched helplessly as Letitia and the others happily threw out their fishing rods, hooked a ghast, pulled it to their side with effort, and then with a backhand sword, they took the ghast tear into their pockets. A series of actions were smooth and flowing, and even now, no one had been blown up by a fireball. Thinking about how he had worked so hard just now, and been blown up for so long, before he could barely do a badminton smash, Markov was about to cry. Master Ian, you didn't teach me that way just now. You can't be so biased. Lear curled his lip, and he really wanted to complain. Is this the first day you've met Master Ian? But thinking about Ian's level of grudge and narrow-mindedness, Lear still righteously said, what are you dissatisfied with? Maid Letitia and the others? Markov hurriedly shrank his head. No, I don't mean that, Godfather. Enough nonsense. After we go back, I'll design a new training plan for you. You go and do extra training for me. Markov's defense was broken, and he didn't dare to say a word with his head down. In fact, knowing that Markov's strength had increased to his previous level with the blessing of the MC world, Lear had this idea. Now, he was just taking advantage of the situation. Letitia and the others were having a lot of fun, and the efficiency of collecting ghast tears was also much higher. After a dozen minutes, the ghasts that could be hooked were also cleared out, and the rest were a bit far away. Ian didn't plan to waste a lot of time here. He would have to stay in the Nether for several days, and he still had to find the Nether fortress. There were ghasts to kill along the way. After letting Letitia and the others organize their gains, Ian led the team and randomly chose a direction to start the expedition. Ian didn't have any way to find the Nether fortress, and the skills he learned in the game before were sometimes effective and sometimes not was able to stand the test point, and the facts also proved that Ian had bet right, but it wasn't the Nether fortress. Ian used to hate watching idle dramas the most, because in Ian's perception, that thing was the biggest lie in the world. But today, Ian felt that his previous understanding was still a bit arbitrary. Not all idle dramas are false. At least Ian, in the Nether, experienced the first idle drama scene in his life. Turn the corner and meet love. After passing a huge, almost right-angled corner, Ian saw it. In a crimson forest, a zombie piglin holding a golden sword was aimlessly wandering around. What is this thing, so good at pretending? The sword is even gold? Markup came up and complained world. Working only provides a living. Robbery makes you rich. Chapter 60 Countrymen, open the door. Free trade. Ian often said strange things from time to time, and everyone was used to it. But experience shows that in the world of MC, no matter what strange things Ian says or does, the final result will be good. So, blindly follow him. But this time, Lear and the others still underestimated the surprise brought by Ian's abstract behavior. When Ian built a special high platform, and led them to shoot and kill the zombie piglins on picket. When the first zombielin fell, and dropped a gold ingot. The nature of this battle completely changed. Point Robbery, with eyes wide open and bloodshot, Lear, who was about to shout fire, fire, would tell every knight and maid point this is a righteous, glorious, holy, robbing the rich to help the poor activity. These monsters are wearing gold armor, and using gold weapons. Where did they get so much gold? In the kingdom of heaven belonging to Master Ian and Dawn, these guys dare to squander gold like this. Isn't this a betrayal of Master Ian? Master Ian's socks are torn and have to be sewn up and continue to be worn, and they are wearing gold armor? Inverted. Unpardonable. Exterminate the clan. Exterminate the clan. These were the original words of the old gentleman Lear. So, it makes sense to have an old person treasure at home. As if you have a for Ian point gold ingots, pork chops, gold swords, gold armor. Everyone killed for more than half an hour on the frame built by Ian, and they were also high for more than half an hour. Drawing a bow and shooting arrows. What are they shooting? It is a hope for common prosperity. The only thing that is a bit tangled is that there are dense gold ingots scattered on the ground, but now they cannot be collected temporarily out by the righteous Dawn Church. Let's go down and collect it. Lear and the others were waiting for this sentence. Almost the moment Ian's voice fell, didn't even climb the ladder, and jumped down one by one. Gold has already confused their eyes, making them blind to the 7 or 8 meters high platform. But they are all wearing enchanted iron armor, so it doesn't matter. Ian didn't follow along. There is nothing to say about the drops obtained from killing the piglin tribe. Gold weapons and gold armor have terrifyingly low durability. For Ian, they are useless perhaps in the future, when going out to pretend to be a force. Wearing a golden suit and holding a golden weapon will be more likely to cause believers to shout Dawn is awesome. Points gained are okay, allowing Leisure and the others to level up 1 or 2 levels. Not long after, Lear and the others had sorted out the harvest point. Pork chops are directly ignored, and bows and crossbows are not looked at for the time being. Ian, Lear, was flushed with excitement. We are rich. There are a total of 12 various gold weapons, and 4.5 sets of various gold armor have also been collected. These things can be exchanged for a lot of gold coins. A human kingdom will definitely spend a lot of money to buy them. We can save our gold ingots first. Ian waved his hand. Can't save them. How many gold ingots are there? Lear hurriedly said. In order to save space, I combined all the gold ingots into gold blocks, a total of 19, and there are 3 gold ingots left. Master Ian, these gold coins are enough for us to buy a kingdom. Ian curled his lips and complained. Buy a kingdom? Do you think I can do such a losing business? That's true. Lear laughed. You usually just rob. I mean, liberate. After packing things up in his backpack, Ian's backpack space is basically full. Backpack space is never enough, especially now that Ian can't go back to Dawn Holy City to put things away. The end is still going to be visited. The shulker box is still very important, but Lear and the others have enough with the ender chest for now. After muttering to himself, Ian waved his hand and said, let's go. Let's continue on our way. Freen looked at Ian with admiration. As expected of Master Ian, he is not moved by a whole mountain of gold in front of him. Master Ian has reached the realm of regarding money as dirt. Ian smiled shallowly and said euphemistically, "It should be. I advise you to try to maintain this mentality like me, otherwise, you will cry later." Without giving Freen and the others a chance to ask questions, Ian strode towards the distance. "As for the nether wart and other resources here, don't take them for now. Remember the location, and come back to collect them. Backpack space is really not enough later, and it has to be reserved for more important resources. What if you walk, and you get lucky and find an ancient debris mining area? You still have to have dreams. Even if you can't realize them, you can give yourself a hope." This time, Ian took them for a long time again. There is no concept of time in the nether, but it is probably a few hours. There were no more surprises along the way, but a lot of gas tears were harvested. There is also magma cream, which was also saved in a group first. When you find the nether fortress, Ian has to go back to the main world to store things, and also build a fast passage between the nether fortress and the portal. So, formal intense work will begin after finding the nether fortress. It's just that, after a few hours, there is no trace of the nether fortress. Ian discovered the piglin tribe again. This time it is on the plain, but this time, it is a proper piglin. Get rich. Markov howled excitedly, and was about to rush up with his Batauga sword. Before he took a few steps, Ian tripped him over. "Master Ian." Markov stared at Ian with a resentful look, and the latter rebuked. "Markov, as a holy knight of my Dawn Church, how can you be so rude? Be civilized. Didn't Master Ian say to rob and get rich before?" Markov whispered a sentence, but Ian didn't care. Now, in his eyes, there are only those cute piglin tribes. Finally, I can achieve a small goal. After sighing in a low voice, Ian took out a gold helmet and put it on, and told, "Don't run around, don't attack, I'm going to talk about a big business." Saying that, before Lear and the others could react, he quickly rushed out, and then gathered the piglin tribe together, and surrounded them with cobblestone everyone. When Lear and the others came back to their senses, they only saw that Ian had already penned up the piglin tribe. This way of doing business is really unique, as expected of Master Ian. Suddenly, Leisha looked at Ian with worship in her eyes. He is so domineering when talking about business. Idiot-like behavior. For some reason, watching Ian stand on the cobblestone wall overlooking the piglin tribe, he had an ominous premonition in his heart. His unreliable Master Ian seems to be going to do something he can't accept. Lear trusts his intuition very much, and he trusts the abstraction of Ian's brain circuit even more. He immediately hurried up and said in a hurried voice, "Master Ian." Before he could finish speaking, he saw Ian take out a lot of gold ingots and look down at the piglin tribe with a serious face. "Countrymen, open the door. Free trade." After saying that, the gold ingot was thrown straight in. Master Ian, have mercy on the gold. And thinking about something. After a while, Ian took out a pile of gold ingots again and threw them indecisively. This time, after watching for a while, Ian finally nodded in satisfaction. Immediately, he turned around and looked at who was clutching their chests with pale faces as if they had a heart attack. Ian raised his eyebrows and spread his hands. "What are you looking at me for? This is called taking everyone from the people and using it for the people. Thanks to Seeing Extraordinary, QIU, Book Friend 2020, Zyxing Temple Yaofeng, and Carefree Freedom Bosses for the monthly tickets. Thank you bosses for the recommendation tickets." Chapter 61. The True Mass Line. Take from the people, use for the people. Looking at Ian's confident demeanor, Leal was amused to the point of laughter. "Young Master Ian, is that how this sentence is understood?" "Generally speaking, there's nothing wrong with it." Ian pondered for a moment before nodding. "From the piglins to the piglins, this is the mass line that our Church of the Dawn has always pursued, putting people first." Leal once again realized that one should never ever argue with Ian. Their young Master Ian's thought processes were always incompatible with the road continent. Leal clutched his chest, but his pained expression failed to elicit any sympathy from Ian. However, when Freya, the little one, had big teary eyes, looking like she was about to shed little pearls, Ian couldn't bear it. He hurriedly explained helplessly, "Alright, don't be sad. These golds are originally intended for trading with the piglin. Don't look down on the piglin tribe. These guys are actually very resourceful, with countless treasures of all kinds. Compared to these things, gold is really not worth mentioning." Leisha pursed her lips and said softly, "Young Master Ian, even if you really want to trade, there's no need to use gold. So much gold. How many gold coins can it be exchanged for? Even if you are unwilling to sell gold, with these gold, we can also mint our own gold coin currency. Markov, if I remember correctly, privately minting coins is tantamount to rebellion, right? Are we not rebelling if we don't mint coins?" Leisha retorted, then quickly spat. "It's not rebellion, it's liberation. In short, you simpleton, shut up." Markov shrank his head sheepishly and stood aside obediently. Ian smiled and waved his hand. "No, the piglin tribes are a bunch of money-grubbing things, and we can only use gold to trade with them. Even if you want to trade with them, you must wear golden armor. Otherwise, not to mention trading, they will even actively attack. In short, the piglin tribe hates poverty." Leo opened his mouth. But before he could finish speaking, Ian raised his hand to interrupt him. Great luck. He threw it out with force towards the open space in the distance. In the eyes of Leo and the others, the strange ball drew a light arc, then landed on the ground without a trace of smoke. The next moment, as if the world in front of them had dropped frames, Ian unknowingly was already standing there. "Young Master Ian?" Leisha was stunned for a moment, looking back at where Ian had just stood, which was already empty. Only the faint sound of gasped cries could be heard from the distance from time to time. A moment later, Ian continued to throw out ender pearls. This time, saw clearly that at the moment the pearl landed, Ian instantly crossed space and arrived there. "Instant teleportation?" Leo exclaimed. The old gentleman's composure could no longer be maintained. Instant teleportation? Leisha was shocked. Arrogant King Aurelius could master in legends? There's no mistake. Leo nodded heavily and said in a deep voice, "Although I have never seen the arrogant king, during the Second Anti-Magic War, the strongest patriarch of the Dragon Clan was killed by this forbidden spell. The prestige of instant teleportation is forged with the blood of the Dragon Clan. If this matter is not true, the proud Dragon Clan would never allow anyone to slander them. Young Master Ian, this is..." Before he could finish speaking, the ender pearl landed next to Leo, and the next moment, Leo noticed something cold on his neck. Drawing katana white scabbard. Ian slowly retracted the drawing katana and said unhappily, "This is what the piglin tribe can exchange for. Is it enough now? Are you still stopping me?" Seeing that Leo was about to open his mouth, Ian added, "Besides the ender pearl of instant teleportation, there are also obsidian, nether quartz, alchemy potions, enchanted books. Of course, the core purpose is only for the ender pearl of instant teleportation. The others are just extras. If you still think gold is more precious than the ender pearl, I won't exchange it without saying a word. How about it?" Leo was silent, and after a long time, he took out the remaining gold ingots on his body and gave them to Ian. "Worth it. It's too worth it. Young Master Ian, exchange as much as you can. If you say the gold is not enough, I'll go out and rob the rich to help the poor to raise money for you." That's what he said, but Leo still felt the pain. That was gold worth hundreds of thousands, nearly 1,000,000 gold coins. However, if you can exchange for the treasure of instant teleportation, this deal is worth doing. Besides, aren't there also golden weapons and armor? Those things can also be exchanged for a lot of gold coins. Ian comforted. "Don't be so sad. Just exchange some ender pearls. Enough is enough. After enough exchanges, these piglin tribes, we can continue to take from the people. I'm just collecting ender eyes. To go to the end. When we get to the end, there will be countless ender pearls. The latest novels are first published on Dingdian Novel Network. And gold too. After a while, I'll let you mine gold until you vomit. Believe me, there's nothing wrong with it." After receiving the gold ingots, Ian began the work of using it for the people again. Although he knew that Ian was trading for treasures that could instantly teleport, so much gold, not even warmed up, he still felt the pain. With a long sigh, Leo and the others turned their backs, choosing to ignore it, so they wouldn't be upset. A dozen gold blocks were enough for Ian to exchange for ender pearls. to go to the end after being materialized is also ridiculously large like the main world, and it is not realistic to find the nether fortress in a short time at the current rate. However, the process of traveling can also be the process of after going back. Ian has to arrange for Markov and the others to take turns on duty at the mob farm, accumulating monster resources while farming experience. It can't be like before, only going to the mob farm to search, when he remembers it every now and then. The permanent residence of the mob farm must become a regular job with an 8-hour work system and 3-shift rotation point, then improve some of the functional farms and buildings in Dawn Holy City, such as the horse breeding center, etc. After that, go find the endpoint. Dragon slaying is secondary. Ian's current situation should be pursuing resource accumulation and industrial development, not the achievement of dragon slaying point. The main purpose of the trip to the end is to find materials for making shulker boxes and elytra, and incidentally farm endermen to accumulate more ender pearls. This thing is very useful in Road Continent Point. After coming back, it's time to start figuring out redstone technology point. Redstone technology also needs to be developed point. In short, the core of the next work is to start large scale construction. In the game, these jobs can be done as slowly as possible. Half a day or a day is enough. But in the materialized MC world, Ian can't guarantee the speed. Who knows how far he has to run to find the end portal. Maybe this journey, converted to the road continent, is the distance from Blackwater City to the Dragon Island on the far West Sea. It's okay to study the MC world with the mindset of a game, but Ian will not forget that this MC world is no longer a game in essence. This is a real world, just like the road continent, except that this world has the magic that the road continent can't even imagine. In a real world, Ian would never ride a horse and travel across a continent that may be larger than his hometown Asia in a day. What Ian wants to build is the Dawn myth, not the Iron Butt legend. Tree Crown City under the night, the Cleveland family's residence is brightly lit. Colored glaze, which ordinary people dare not even think about, is just a lampshade here. Cleveland, like the past few days, is still pacing around anxiously, but this time, it has been replaced by an open space outside a magnificent residence. Whenever a roar sounded from inside the house, Cleveland's heart would tremble. He wanted to push the door open and take a look, but when he saw the 2 elven warriors standing at the door, fully armored, carrying long bows, and holding short blades to death under his feet. After a long time, with a creak, the door was pushed open. Cleveland, who has always been a standard lecher, didn't dare to have any distracting thoughts. He didn't even dare to look at her body. He lowered his head and stepped forward, but as soon as he took a step, the 2 strong elven warriors appeared on his left and right like ghosts. Fishley, how is my son? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, The Elven Druid. The elven girl named Fishley slightly furrowed her beautiful brows, looking at the humble Cleveland before her, a hint of disgust flitting through her eyes. In fact, from the moment she met Cleveland and Lyman, she knew these 2 were no good. But there was no choice. This matter involved a new species of demon, and even if she couldn't stand these human nobles, she had to come and see. Clan Chief Cleveland. Lyman stepped forward slowly, smiling like a Maitreya Buddha. Lady Fishley traveled a long way to get here, and started working without even taking a break. Now that she finally has some free time, you, as the host, should at least let Lady Fishley and the others have a drink of water. Someone to serve tea, and the knights of the entire Bilka Principality probably wouldn't be enough for them to cut a few times, and the thousands of soldiers in Canopy City were just a rabble that couldn't last 10 minutes in their eyes. What's more, this Fishley was an elven druid. Not to mention that her strength was unfathomable. It was said that she was the youngest and most talented one. In short, at worst, she would be one of the elven wise men in the future, and might even have a chance to compete for the position of Elven Queen. Even the royal families of the 5 human kingdoms would have to flatter her. If Fishley lost even a single hair, the elves could plow the Bilka Principality 3 feet deep. Lady Fishley, after Fishley took a sip of water. Cleveland hurriedly said, "My son. I mean, these new demons. Do you have any clues?" Fishley pondered for a moment and shook her head. "No." "Then what are you pretending for?" Cleveland suppressed the anger in his heart, but still said with a humble expression, "Lady Fishley, you must think of a way. I'm not doing this for my son, but this new species of demon is so terrifying. If we can't find a way to restrain them, I'm afraid it will lead to a disaster." Fishley mocked his hypocrisy in her heart, but she had no interest in arguing with Cleveland. After thinking for a moment, she said softly, "Just now, I tried to connect to his consciousness with the art of probing, but all I could feel was violence and nothingness. Judging from the feedback from the art of probing, the poison of this new demon is very terrible. Once injured, there is no cure. However, I tried it with the water of life. Although it can't be solved, the water of life temporarily suppressed his ferocity. I need to go back. This matter is of great importance and cannot be solved by me alone." Fishley obviously didn't plan to stay any longer and got up to leave a water bag. The bag contains 5 days worth of water of life. If his ferocity breaks out at night, pour the water of life on him to temporarily suppress it. I will be back in 5 days. That, Fishley decisively turned around and left with the 2 elven warriors, taking advantage of the night to return to the elven territory. She came and went in a hurry. Perhaps it was because Fishley didn't like them. But Cleveland didn't care. He tightly grasped the bag containing the water of life. Although it couldn't be cured, at least with this thing, he could breathe a sigh of relief and wait for Fishley to bring people back. People often say that the dragons are incomparably arrogant, comparable to the king of arrogance, but I think the elves are also arrogant. Lyman took a sip of tea faintly, his eyes uncertain. But after a moment, he smiled again. "Congratulations, old brother, you can finally breathe a sigh of relief. There will be no problem when the elven veterans arrive." Cleveland nodded with a forced smile. "True." Lyman laughed. "Compared to your soon-to-be appointed Sunderland city, old brother, my Canopy City is just a small border town. I'm a declining household, and I'll have to rely on you for care in the future, old brother." Before Cleveland could say anything, Lyman changed the subject again. "However, now that this matter is resolved, you should put your mind on that little bastard, right? If you don't resolve him as soon as possible, the third prince won't be happy." "I'm fine, but I'm afraid the third prince will think you're putting your family affairs above the third prince's business. If the third prince is unhappy..." Cleveland's face was stiff with a smile, and his concern for Lyman had risen from his whole family to Lyman's 18th generation ancestors. "Don't worry, old brother, I'm also keeping an eye on this matter. Judging from the time, it should be sent over in the few next days." After a pause, Cleveland looked annoyed and regretful. "It's a pity that those damned troops are inefficient. It took them so long to gather 500 poison men. Otherwise, this matter would have ended long ago. Old brother, those city defense troops really need to be cleaned up. After a while, I'll send you some." Lyman's expression remained unchanged, and he nodded with a smile. "What you said makes sense, old brother. I'll be waiting for good news." "No problem." Cleveland shook hands with Lyman with a friendly expression, looking like a good brother. "When I kill you, I'll burn your whole family, including the army, for you." The latest and fastest novels are first published. Although there were all kinds of viciousness in his heart, he still appeared gentle, courteous, thrifty, and yielding on the surface. At least, Cleveland was very talented in acting. Of course, Cleveland was an actor. And Lyman was no less inferior. After watching Cleveland leave in a hurry with the water of life, Lyman's face suddenly turned cold. He waved his hand to signal the guards beside him to come over. "Transfer a batch of poison men to the canyon 300 miles east of Sunderland City." "Yes, Lord City Lord, but that old thing is not weak. If the poison men don't work, the third prince will go to Sunderland City for inspection at that time." "Understood." Under the night sky, 3 cloud-winged Pegasi flapped their wings and stepped into the sky, rushing towards the west. Finally, after leaving Canopy City far behind, an elven warrior couldn't help but ask, "Lady Fishley, why did you give the water of life to that human noble?" "That's right. Another warrior said unhappily. As soon as I got close to them, I smelled the disgusting bloody smell on them, and the monster inside. If I'm not mistaken, that Cleveland must have fed his son with the people in the city. If you ask me, let them fend for themselves. This kind of guy doesn't deserve to live. Fishley sighed, her tone full of compassion. How can I not understand? My eye of probing sees more clearly, but this matter is not just about Canopy City, or even the affairs of the human race. If it is not resolved properly, it may pose a fatal threat to the 100 Clans Alliance. Although I haven't seen the new species of demon, I have observed the poison men, combined with what the noble said they are inherently strong and difficult to kill, and they also carry that terrible poison. Being killed or injured will turn them into violent poison men. This is even more terrifying than those despicable necromancers. Fishley paused, her beautiful eyes filled with worry, making her look even more holy. Once these new types of demons are mass deployed in war, and we have no means to solve them, have you thought about what will happen on the battlefield? The demons will become stronger like a snowball. This matter is too terrible. I must go back and ask Her Majesty the Queen. The 100 clans are already weak. If the matter of this new demon is not resolved properly, perhaps the next anti-demon war will be the day of the 100 Clans Alliance's demise. Our benefits, and they all disappear when they see danger, especially those human nobles. Many people are saying in private, as long as they can continue to be nobles, they don't care whether they are nobles of the human race or nobles of the demons. Fishley's voice was slightly heavier. Alright, stop talking. It doesn't matter what the human race is like. It has nothing to do with us. Just do our own thing. After returning, I will immediately go to see Her Majesty the Queen. You go and mobilize some manpower to prevent accidents. After all, what we have seen now are all weak poison men. The new species of demon that really spreads the plague has not yet appeared. The cloud-winged Pegasus traveled through the moon, carrying about worries the zombie villagers, and returned to the elven clan with Fishley Point. At this time, Ian had already taken Lyle and the others into the nether for a day and a half. At this time, Ian was riding a blazer hound on the way to the nether fortress. Chapter 63. Ian is still on his way riding a strider. Merciful Lord, grant us rain, food, and well-being. Receive them with a devout heart, and establish the thought of dawn. Compassionate Father asks nothing else from us by old Matthew's lead. Thousands of Blackwater City believers and winged people believers gathered in the church to complete their daily prayers and dispersed. Blackwater City citizens cheerfully carried wooden buckets to fetch water. The elderly went to farm together, waiting for the unified ripening in a while. This matter is also something that the winged people deeply marvel at. In the past, when farming, the planting process was the easiest, and the waiting process was the longest. If they encountered a severe drought year like this year, it would not be a long wait, but despair crops. This kind of work has now been reduced to really only the planting process. There are also the iron golems patrolling the city at any time. The winged people understand better than the Blackwater City citizens how powerful these things are. Walks to your door today. Then you will be lucky all day today, and the great dawn will shine upon you today. In addition to these tasks, the winged people are also responsible for patrolling the city, demolishing old buildings, and preparing for major construction. Busy, but fulfilling and happy. Matthew looked at the winged people and the humans getting along harmoniously, and couldn't help but feel proud. He has completed the work that Ian gave him very well, but he doesn't think it's his own credit. Under the great dawn, life will always unite. Praying in his heart, Matthew slowly walked to Hania, the only one left in the church. The little girl is still closing her eyes and clasping her hands in prayer. After a moment, Matthew said softly, "Miss Hania, it seems that you have something bothering you again. Can you tell me about it?" Under the gaze of the dawn, Hania came back to her senses and hurriedly got up when she saw Matthew. "Father Matthew, please feel free to speak. The dawn does not like lies, even well-intentioned ones." Matthew reminded her gently. Hania was silent. After a moment, her beautiful eyebrows drooped along with a pair of pure white wings. "Father Matthew, does His Holiness the Pope dislike us? Don't say that again in the future." Matthew's face stiffened slightly, and he clasped his hands together and looked at the dawn sculpture in front of him. His Holiness the Pope is as kind as a father, as selfless as a lord, and is a walker of the great dawn in the mortal world. He will always love the children of the dawn like the dawn. Sorry, Father Matthew. Hania hurriedly explained. No, I was there when His Holiness the Pope bestowed endless rain. Previous His Holiness the Pope would show up from time to time every day. Walking in the city, you could occasionally meet His Holiness the Pope, but these past 2 days, ever since we winged people joined Blackwater City, His Holiness the Pope has not shown up again, and even Bishop Ear and the others are. So I was thinking, is it that we winged people did something wrong that disappointed His Holiness the Pope? So that's how it is. Matthew smiled suddenly, and then comforted, child, you are thinking too much. The Dawn Church is rapidly developing. His Holiness the Pope has to receive the Dawn's oracle every day, and now he is even busier. Bishop Ear and the others are also the same. His Holiness the Pope told me a few days ago that they have important work to do and will not show up during this time. If there is no urgent matter, don't let people go to the City Lord's mansion. It has nothing to do with you winged people. On the contrary, to His Holiness the Pope is very optimistic about you winged people. His Holiness the Pope also said that you are a very smart and devout child. Suddenly, Hania's excited little face turned red. Did His Holiness the Pope really say that? The beams of light that hit the church. After a moment, Hania hurriedly landed, looking at Matthew apologetically. Sorry, Father Matthew, I lost my composure. Thank you very much for your guidance. This is exactly my duty, child. Matthew chuckled first. After saying that, Hania left in a hurry. After stepping out of the church, she couldn't help but feel excited anymore. With a wave of her wings, she rose from the ground in an instant. Hovering in the air, smiling happily, from time to time her eyes would look at the City Lord's mansion from afar. Hania felt that the air in the sky was much sweeter. Must work hard. Can't let His Holiness the Pope down. Church, I can't fall behind either. Cheering herself up in her heart, Hania's eyes widened like copper bells, carefully patrolling inside and outside Blackwater City. It's just that after all, she is a child at heart. After seeing the eastern edge of the city wall collapse with shouts and dust, Hania couldn't help but swoop down, skimming over the dust, to give her winged people partners a surprise. Then, under the helpless scolding of her father, Uriel, she quickly flew away. Blackwater City is gradually becoming more and more vibrant. At this time, His Holiness the Pope, who was missed by Hania, was still riding a strider on his way to the Nether Fortress. Ian didn't expect that the Nether Fortress, which could be found in a few minutes or 10 minutes in the game with a little effort point in the materialized MC world. It is so difficult to find point. It's been 2.5 days. Ian has been searching for the Nether Fortress with Lear and the others. Putting it in the game, in 2.5 days, the Nether could be dug over, and I don't know how many ancient ruins mining areas could be found. But in the materialized Nether, just that lava sea, Ian led them riding striders for a day, and didn't run through it. There was even a section of road that was just like the scene Ian saw in the Ocean Cruise video in his hometown. Looking around, the end of the line of was side calm lava point, to put it nicely. It seems to be brewing great terror in the end. He couldn't stand this feeling of hopelessness, and while he could still distinguish the east, west, north, and south, he quickly found a place to go ashore and rest. Point Ian is sure that the difficulty of the current MC world is all on the road. Of course, it may also be related to the fact that Ian didn't search wholeheartedly. Point He is trying his best to teach Lear and the others various knowledge and skills about the Nether, teach them to identify the monsters in the Nether, teach them how to drive the Nether's amphibious luxury car, Strider, teach them the identification and development of some key resources in the Nether. All the knowledge about the Nether, Ian is teaching them on the way by example and precept. Point after all, it is impossible for Ian to always run to the Nether to collect resources by himself, and the Wither skeleton, and then brush the Piglin Tower. Young nights are the time to struggle. Sleep? Why sleep long before death? You will sleep long after death. It just so happens that not sleeping can also help Ian brush the phantom and make slow falling potions. However, the MC world is still the MC world. Even if it is terrifyingly large after materialization, it still cannot change the fact that doing something in the MC world is much simpler than outside. Just like this Nether Fortress. riding the Strider. After running for 2 days and 2 nights, Ian and others finally saw the strange black and red building hanging high in the sky in the center of the lava sea. At this time, His Holiness the Pope, who had been riding a Strider to the Nether Fortress, finally arrived at the Nether Fortress. Chapter 64. Being a diligent blaze rod farmer. Fortunately, not far from this Nether Fortress was a protruding piece of land. Riding the Strider and bringing Leal and the others ashore, I glanced to the side. Leisure at this time had a look of unfulfilled satisfaction, seemingly feeling that the Nether Fortress had appeared too early. Ian couldn't help but tease her. "What's wrong? Haven't you received enough gold to make your hand soft yet?" "No, young Master Ian." Leisure scratched her cheek and said in a low voice, "It's just that I feel it's a pity that such a magical and interesting exploration experience ended so quickly." Ian smiled and comforted her. "Don't worry, this is just the beginning. There will be plenty of opportunities for such expeditions in the future. Now, let's tidy up a bit and put up a ladder to go up first." After saying that, Ian stepped aside. In these 2.5 days, even though he tried his best to reduce the amount of resources he carried, he still couldn't avoid his backpack space from being completely full, to the point that now things like scaffolding blocks were being carried by Leisure and the others. Even so, it was estimated that the remaining scaffolding blocks were only just enough to reach the Nether Fortress later. Ian would have to create a fast passage connecting the Nether portal as soon as possible. This was easy to say, just lay an aerial minecart track point, but this would have to wait for a while. Ian needed to go back to the main world first to store things and free up his hands to harvest blazes. Next would be the great alchemy era of the Dawn Divine Church. Thinking in his heart, Ian turned his gaze to Leal and the others. Although most of the 2.5 days were spent teaching and traveling, in a place like the Nether, it was hard not to have a good harvest. Just looking at Ian's situation of accumulating 3 or 4 stacks of ender pearls, one could imagine how amazing their harvest was. It could be said, except for netherite, they had everything else they should have. Taking gold as an example, when Leal and the others first came to the Nether, they couldn't wait to hold every gold nugget that fell on the ground in their hands. As for now, let's put it this way, even if they were beaten to death, Leal and Markov would not have been willing to consume a gold ingot to make a sharp white scabbard, but they even used gold tools for mining. In 2.5 days, Leal and the others understood that in the MC world, especially in the Nether, gold was truly cheap. Perhaps Leal never thought that one day, he would say something like, "Use gold tools, don't waste the durability of iron tools." The money they earned made them stand up straight. In addition to the countless gold, various monster materials, nether wart, soul sand, ender pearls, and other obvious gains. After practicing for a while, Markov and the others could work in 8-hour shifts in the Nether. In addition, there was the Bathow sword point. As Ian thought, the Bathow sword skills were a monstrous enhancement for a sword master like Leal. Just one whiteboard skill, Quick Draw IAI, was used by Leal to its full potential point. If he had other Bathow swords with even more powerful sword skills, what would happen? In any case, Leal becoming stronger was a very happy thing for Ian and the Dawn Divine Church. Ian's identity and importance meant that the chances of him showing his face and fighting on the front line were almost 0. And Leal was Ian's representative. His strength was directly related to the face of the Dawn Divine Church, and Ian. The stronger he was, the more unfathomable the Dawn Divine Church seemed. Therefore Ian gave Leal 3 ender pearls. Pearl teleportation combat a lot in the past 2 days. He was also lucky, at least he hadn't thrown out any endermites compared yet to Ian's terrible sword talent. Leal was a real genius. In one day, he basically integrated the Bathow sword skills, ender pearls, and his own sword moves. The new sword move he created was unpredictable and could already be called an awesome space sword technique. Within 30 meters, Leal would appear randomly in any place where he could create a fatal blow, and the enemy couldn't even capture his movement trajectory. This routine was privately the mosquito sword style by Markov, who called it to test the sword. It meant that it was as annoying and troublesome as a mosquito. This set of sword skills also had an official name. Sword Dachi, with powerful skills in the MC world, would be officially released. It was estimated that Leal would be envious again when he saw it. While thinking, the passage to the Nether Fortress was built by Leal and the others. After Ian inspected the project, he led them to the Nether Fortress. He just circled around it to inspect it. This Nether Fortress was nothing special, just like most Nether Fortresses in Ian's memory. Leisure and the others silently followed Ian, watching Ian nod frequently, then turn around and leave, like a lion inspecting its territory. After a trip, he only put a few blocks in the room where the blazes spawned to block the blazes from leaving. About half an hour later, Ian finally said the first sentence, after landing on this Nether Fortress. "Let's go back to Dawn Holy City." After saying that, he returned along the original path. Leal was stunned for a moment, looking at Ian with a puzzled expression. "Young Master Ian, didn't you find your target?" "Found it. Didn't you see the blazes just now?" Ian replied with a smile, riding the Nether luxury car Strider and heading straight in the right direction. "Searched for so long, just to come and comfort them? According to your personality it shouldn't be." "Nonsense." Ian rolled his eyes. "If it was just me alone, I would have farmed there for a day. Isn't it because I still have you guys and the Dawn Divine Church to support? We've been searching in the Nether for so long, and our backpacks are full. We have to go back and put things down to free up space for more important blaze resources, right? Finding the resources Nether Fortress is just the beginning. The next work is the key. In short, just listen to me." Ian didn't explain too much to them in detail. He just kept hurrying on the road. It took 2.5 days to come, but in fact, the way back only took more than 3 hours. The main reason was that they weren't sure about the location of the Nether Fortress when they came, and they took many detours. Crossing the Nether portal that still made people feel that the world was distorted. They returned to Dawn Holy City in the main world. Leal and the others had a deeper understanding of the word like a world away. Looking back at the dark Nether portal, Leisure couldn't help but sigh. "When we went, we were penniless. After coming back, we are already richer than a country. No matter how many times we experience it, the Great Dawn Heavenly Kingdom can always bring us incomprehensible shock." "Young Master Ian, you said." "Young Master Ian?" Leisure looked around blankly. "Young Master Ian?" Still the sound of hurried footsteps and a series of muttering. After a moment of silence, Leisure whispered, "Young Master Ian has entered that strange working state again." "Yes. Let's trust young Master Ian." Leal nodded, then walked towards the storage room not far away. The last time young Master Ian entered this state, later, he led the 20 of us to annihilate tens of thousands of demons. As much as young Master Ian, left with her head held high like a proud swan. "You say it as if you understand young Master Ian the most. You haven't even washed young Master Ian's underwear." The clanging sound lasted for a long time. By the time had sorted out the things on their bodies and put them away, only everyone taking basic dry food and weapons. Ian's work hadn't finished yet. Leal and the others couldn't help but become more and more curious about what Ian was doing. This time, Ian's deep working time was much longer than the time he spent preparing equipment for the previous expedition to the demons. Just when Leisure couldn't wait any longer and wanted to go in and see Ian finally walked out of the house with a confident smile. Before Leisure and the others could ask, Ian stuffed some strange things into their backpacks. "Go back, we are going to start working." This was also the first sentence Ian said to them after returning to Dawn Holy City in the main world. Looking at a bunch of strange blocks in her backpack, Leisure finally couldn't help but ask, "Young Master Ian, you've been talking nonsense since just now. I'm very worried about your mental state. What are you going to do?" "What to do?" Ian thought seriously for a moment, then confirmed, "Be a diligent blaze rod farmer. Thanks to the monthly ticket from the boss devouring dragon. Thanks to the recommended tickets from the bosses." Chapter 65 Alchemy Potion Forged, the prologue to legend. From the start, Ian never intended to simply farm blazes. He had Leisure and the others under his command, as well as the Dawn Church's believers. Development in the MC world couldn't just focus on himself alone. Taking the group as the development direction, resource acquisition must be a cyclical harvesting model. To put it bluntly, it's large-scale farming. Therefore, the blazes whose drops were related to the large-scale deployment of alchemy potions, also had to be planted in. Relatively speaking, building a blaze farm was quite simple. It was nothing more than utilizing the characteristics of a monster spawner and the trident stirring machine. Compared to structures like iron golem farms, a blaze farm was already very beginner friendly. After packing up, it was once again, His Holiness the Pope is on his way riding a strider. Ian wasn't against directly adding a nether portal to the nether fortress, but considering that 1 block in the nether was generally equal to 8 blocks in the overworld, and Ian had actually ridden a strider for more than 3 hours to get here, forget it. Loading this portal wouldn't simplify Ian's transportation work. Later, he'd find time to build a redstone railway for fully automated material transport, which would be great. More than 3 hours later, back at the nether fortress, Ian decisively had Lear and the others clear out the remaining blazes inside. He casually placed 4 torches, sealing the blaze spawner. Next was the moment to witness knowledge's wealth. Using the monster spawner as a core, build 2 blocks upwards, expand 7 blocks downwards, and build a 10x10 platform on the 7th block to create a cage point and place lava in the 4 corners of the platform. After completing the above steps, a simple blaze farm was successfully built. After that, just add a sunken area in the middle, place half slabs, and then collect the blazes without taking damage. This was the simplest method and wasn't difficult. But what Ian wanted to do was an upgraded version. Once he directed Lear and the others to build the basic framework, Ian personally took over. Detector, pistons, dispensers. After orderly construction, a stable cycle was formed. Place trapdoors to trick the blazes down. Set up chests, hoppers. Half an hour later, pull the lever, throw the trident, and when he saw the trident start running on the monster spawner, before long, a blaze staggered down center, and the trident stirring machine activated to harvest it. Blaze rods fell into the chest. Ian clapped his hands happily. Blaze slaughter assembly line successfully built. Stood. Lear and the others climbed down the ladder beside Ian and curiously watched the operation of this strange machine in front of them. They had seen many strange buildings like this and weren't very surprised. Compared to this machine, Lear was more curious about what was so special about the blazes that Ian had persistently searched for several days. Ian was the type of person who wouldn't even glance at ender pearls. Young Master Ian, don't ask. Ian raised his hand to interrupt Lear and chuckled. Soon you'll see how important this thing is. Since Ian said so, Lear naturally didn't ask any further. He quietly observed the constantly falling blazes with Ian. Blaze farm was a scenery he could never get tired of, but yawning was easier to spread than Ian's happy mood, and before long, even Lear couldn't help but cover his mouth and yawn. After all, they hadn't rested for 3 days. Ian noticed, opened the chest, and took a look. Although the relentless made rushing became very slow, the efficiency of farming things was still very high. In just over an hour, the blaze rods and glowstone dust in the chest were already full. Only then did Ian call to pack up the blaze rods and glowstone dust and return. 30 odd stacks of blaze rods should be enough for a while, and besides, Markov and the others would soon come to take shifts here. At that time, blaze rods would be continuously produced. The wither skeleton farm would everyone be built next time, but right now, it was most important to quickly make alchemy potions to increase the Dawn Church's strength. The newest novel is first published. Having completed Ian's biggest nether goal, the return journey seemed even easier. Ian still didn't tell Lear and the others what these blaze rods were for. Until they ran all the way back to Dawn Holy City, the sky was already gradually dimming, and the last trace of the sunset remained on the other side of the mountain. The legendary era of the Dawn Church is coming. Everyone was immersed in the beautiful light and shadow of the MC world, but suddenly heard Ian's murmur in their ears. Turning around, they found that Ian had a strange big black pot beside him at some point, and there were also a pile of complex looking brewing stands. Young Master Ian, your presence symbolizes the great era of our Dawn Church. Leisure complimented with a smile, but Ian shook his head. No, Leisure, you don't understand what I mean. After saying that, Ian looked at Lear and said softly, Lear, have you ever imagined? One day, all the armies under the Dawn Church are powerful knights. What would that be like? Lear shook his head instantly. Young Master Ian, as you know, a whole army of knights or mages is something only elves and dragons can do. Knights. What an outrageous thing that was. The human coalition army had hundreds of millions of people, and knights and mages combined probably didn't exceed 2 million. If they could really make everyone a knight, then the human race would be the real disaster in this world. Ian didn't say much, just gently patted Lear on the shoulder and said spiritedly, "Soon you will see. Let's start." Ian entered the familiar working state again, running back and forth between the workbench and the monster spawner, and from time to time returning to the storage area to move many things, directing Leisure and the others to place a full row of potion pots, and directing Markov and the others to transport water to fill them, plus the surrounding brewing stands. Now Ian only needed a pair of glasses and a white coat to transform into a mad scientist. Lear and the others still didn't know what Ian was going to do, but their intuition told them that something big was really about to happen. Once Ian entered the working state, Lear and the others understood that at this time, blindly following was the best approach. When the sun completely sank into the horizon, Ian carefully took out a glass bottle filled with dark red liquid from the brewing stand. Under the dim light of the torch, this strange potion exuded an alluring halo. Ian's eyes were focused on the potion, while everyone's eyes were focused on Ian's excited face. "Young Master Ian, can you tell us now? What exactly is this? Worth you running for so long?" Frayne finally couldn't help but ask. Ian was silent for a moment, raised his eyes, and looked around at everyone, and slowly said, "This is the symbol of the legendary era belonging to our Dawn Church. With it, we will make our enemies understand what the most desperate way to die in the world is." Chapter 66. I swallowed a bottle of medicine. My life is in my own hands. Harlan, not far away, immediately turned his head and shouted, then looked at Leal with all-point Taiwan novel network. Markov put down his weapon somewhat dejectedly, and said with a mournful face, "Lost, Godfather, I've clearly become so strong. How come I can't last as long against you as before?" Leal stood with his hands clasped, and said calmly, "That's because I work harder than you. In the Great Dawn Heaven, with Master Ian's guidance, you can indeed become stronger just by breathing, but that's not an excuse for you to slack off in training." Markov's face turned red, and he lowered his head. "Understand, Godfather, I will increase the intensity of my training." After saying that, Markov couldn't help but complain, "Ian is really something. He knows I'm no match for you, but he still insists on having me spar with you at full strength. Now I've completely lost face." Ian's voice slowly entered Markov's ears, and the latter quickly said, "Oh, no, I know Master Ian is doing it for my own good. I have indeed slacked off in training during this period." Smile. "I say, I can let you defeat Leal once. Would you like to try, Sally?" Markov immediately looked at Ian with an excited face. From childhood to adulthood, he had been beaten up by Leal. In so many years of sparring, not to mention winning, he couldn't even land a single cut on Leal. Having been beaten and scared since childhood, Markov dreamed of winning once. "What price do I have to pay? Godfather's current strength is even stronger than the old master's." Ian smiled and took out a few bottles of potions and handed them to Markov. "Here is no price to pay, just drink these things." Markov recognized that these things were what Ian had just made, claiming they could make the demons despair. Without even Ian's miracle is absolutely the gap between their strengths is a chasm. Master Ian's. Markov didn't doubt him, and immediately drank a few bottles of potions. This power year. Markov looked at his hands with excitement, his eyes straight. At this moment, he felt that he could tear apart the strongest defensive demon Leviathan with his bare hands. Leal also noticed something was wrong. Leal in the blink of an eye. In an instant, there were exclamations on the field. "Too fast. This is absolutely impossible for Markov to have. It's those few bottles of potions." Leal was shocked, but his excellent combat intuition still made him subconsciously raise his sword to block in front of him. Clang. The harsh sound of the collision of swords and blades turned into sound waves and swept around. On Leal's calm face, the color of shock appeared for the first time. He took a few steps back, his eyes fixed on Markov. What terrifying strength. This guy's. Did he take steroids? Feeling the tingling in his tiger's mouth and the numbness in his wrist, Leal became more and more dignified. The Markov who was like a rookie just now, has strength and both speed and combat skills are still not in Leel's eyes, but this brute force is like Ian's great strength flying brick. Leel finally became serious. Markov's current strength is definitely not something that can be resisted head on. If he is accidentally cut, Leel estimates that he will be seriously injured. Master Ian, what did you give this guy to eat? Can he control this power? Leel complained in his heart, while Markov on the opposite side was still looking at his sword with a shocked face. Good opportunity. Leel's eyes lit up, and he instantly used Swift Step IAI slash. Silly child, what's the use of getting stronger and faster? In terms of grasping combat timing and skills, you still need to practice for a few more years. Thoughts were surging in his mind, but it still didn't affect the imposing sword. But at the last moment, Markov flexed his legs and jumped to a height that Leel couldn't reach at all. Hurriedly returned his hand to block directly point in full view of the public. Leel was knocked away by Markov's sword, and he quickly threw out the ender pearl to land by relying on his good combat literacy. Only then did he avoid an embarrassing fall. But Leel's face was not good looking. This dead child is really using deadly hands. Swordplay. The current Markov, whose all aspects have been strengthened, has improved his reaction speed. The sword moves that he couldn't even see clearly before were blocked back by relying on his strong physical advantage. Most new, small, at first, hair. Every collision made Leel's arm numb. Markov became more and more excited as he fought. In his life, it was really the first time he had fought Leel to a tie. He couldn't help but be shocked by the power of the potion Ian gave him. But Leel is not covered after all. Even if his physique is now behind, his exquisite swordsmanship and combat intuition still allow him to maintain his invincibility. It's just that from a visual point of view, it is indeed Markov who is pressing Leel to fight. This is the effect of the potion that Master Ian you worked so hard to make. It's really powerful, Leisha exclaimed, looking into the distance. This continues, Butler Leel may really be defeated by Markov. Ian shook his head and did not agree with Leisha's idea. Indeed, the current Markov has the upper hand, but his advantage is entirely brought about by the alchemy potion. If he can't defeat Leel within a few minutes, once the potion effect arrives, Markov will be beaten back to his original form. He will inevitably be punched by Leel with a heart of filial piety. In the final analysis, Markov is not Leel. His existing combat literacy and night martial arts are not enough for him to master this surge of power. The current Markov is like a child holding a pistol and firing randomly. Railing, Ian said loudly, Markov, you can use the last bottle. Markov replied, quickly opened the distance from Leel and took out the potion. Leel, who already understood the horror of the potion, naturally didn't want him to take it. Even if it was an experiment, he didn't want to be defeated by his adopted son. It's too embarrassing. A tie is actually enough to prove how powerful this potion is. But his speed is ultimately not as fast as Markov's. When the ender pearl landed next to Markov, Leel teleported to arrive. Markov, who had finished the potion, disappeared into the air under Leel's eyes. Leel was shocked, but it was just this moment of, and a strong wind roared past. Leel looked around in confusion, and when he came back to his senses, he felt a sharp blade on his neck. The outcome has been decided. Even with a clear sense of touch, Leel still couldn't see where Markov was. Only the intuition in the dark told him that Markov was standing next to him with a big grin. I accept your concession, Godfather. I won. I finally won. Leel took the weapon, stretched out his leg, and kicked Markov expressionlessly. Markov's sudden invisibility did scare him, but when he reacted, Leel also understood that this was not a terrifying ability. His combat intuition and hearing can still allow him to distinguish Markov's position. Failure is just a temporary lack of reaction given by Ian. But Leel had to say that what Ian made this time was too shocking. After a moment of silence, Leel sighed and looked up at Ian. Master Ian, Alost once again created an incredible miracle. This stuff as we want now. Ordinary people can also use it, and oh side effects. The voice was accompanied by countless alchemy potions being thrown down by Ian. Like a meteorite falling into the sea, in the depths of silence, it stirred up thousands of waves of hustle and bustle. Thank you Violet Evergarden Violet, Ming Julie, and Infinite Gate bosses for your monthly tickets. Thank you bosses for your recommendation ticket bombing support. Chapter 67 I'm going to launch an awesome charge. Markov, you've already used a lot of miracle drugs. Leave the opportunity for others, understand? Father, are you referring to yourself when you say others? Markov, your father is old, his body is not as good as before. If I don't get this miracle drug today, I may not have another chance in the future. Stop talking about age, father. When you beat me, you didn't seem old and weak at all. I'm the Dawn Church's only cardinal, symbolizing the dawn and Master Ian's face. My strength improving is more important to the Dawn Church. I'm also the Holy Knight Order commander personally appointed by Master Ian. Markov, can't you let your dad have it? Father, you already have the Ender Pearl and the Bixie Sword play. Can't you let the young people have it? Bastard. Don't you even understand filial piety now? I bled for the Master. I have contributed to the Dawn. Who hasn't? Master Ian said, people can't always lie on their laurels and sleep. I'm your dad. You have to respect the old. I'm your son. You have to love the young. You little bastard. Draw your sword. Today, I'll let you know that your old man will always be your old man. Draw my sword, then draw my sword. If you have the ability, let me drink a few bottles of potion first. Leaning on the railing of the high platform, Ian watched Leo and the others arguing below with a smile on his lips. He didn't remember how many times the usually dignified old gentleman Leo had ruined his image since coming to the MC world. Perhaps every day in the MC world, Leo is subverting the image he used to leave in everyone's hearts. But this time, Ian understood Leo. In the continent of Rodri, there are actually many ways to temporarily increase strength. Some berserk magic and bizarre berserk potions of the demon race point the dragon king's precious blood of the dragon race point the golden flower of the demon race. Each race has more or less some kind of stimulant like thing point among them. The most famous, besides the sluggish spirit liquid that only the Shadow of Sloth clan under the King of Sloth can make, is the moon essence pearl of the mermaid clan deep in the sea point. The moon essence pearl is condensed from the moon harvesting clan cultivated by the mermaid clan. One clam, one pearl, harvested every 3 years. The moon harvesting clam only lives in the deepest part of the sea, where the moonlight pours down. It sleeps during the day and floats up at night to collect the moonlight. A moon essence pearl can increase the strength of a mermaid warrior by more than 10-fold in all aspects. There is the output. Whether it is the golden flower or the moon essence pearl, those are the foundations of each race. They will never be used unless it is a time of war or a matter of life and death. Point decades after the end of the fourth anti-demon war, it is still unknown whether these things have accumulated enough to reach tens of thousands use it. Not only will it have no effect, but it will also be highly poisonous. Third, and also the most important point that is, their powerful side effects similar to the golden flower. Although it can allow the Beeman clan to directly enter the golden Beeman state, their strength will increase several times. But this thing requires the Beeman clan to use their essence and blood to operate and catalyze it. Using it once brings them one step closer to death. So, things that temporarily increase strength are treasures of all races, but also deadly poisons. They will never be used unless it is absolutely necessary. However, the human race does not have this kind of trouble. Because the human race doesn't have it words many people, the wing race, but the human race also has a specialty that the 100 race alliance cannot match. They can breed. Fighting wars all depends on piling up human lives. Taking the elf race as an example, after the fourth anti-demon war, the elf race was also severely damaged, and the number of people was estimated to be less than 50,000. Decades have passed, and I heard that it has not yet recovered to 100,000 and 80 million troops died in the fourth anti-demon war. Decades have passed, and the number of troops expanded by various human countries has exceeded 100 million. Ian really can't tell whether being able to breed is a blessing or a misfortune. Many races in the 100 race alliance believe that because God has given the human race a strong reproductive ability, he has deprived them of their strength and wisdom. But Ian felt that perhaps it was not so. If it weren't for those corrupt nobles fighting each other, and the 100 race alliance being selfish, perhaps the human race would be the main force in annihilating the demon race. Life is like this. After hundreds of years of fighting against the demon race, they have long been accustomed to this stalemate situation point. But the pride of lions probably forgot that this grassland originally belonged to them, and the tigers should not be here either. Still useful. The moment the Dawn Church was born, Ian decided to set a new rule for the 100 Race Alliance. What human race, elf race, dragon race, or large children of the dawn might not have had a detailed understanding in their hearts? After all, there was no entry point for this kind of thing, even in dreams. So Ian chose to speak with facts. Returning to Blackwater City, he transferred an ordinary soldier who had just joined the Papal Army. He had him take various alchemical potions and fight Markov, who had already advanced to a powerful knight. The Papal Army, wielding an MC World wooden sword, made Markov, who was holding a drawing sword, realize what it meant to create miracles with brute force. 1 / knocked away the weapon, 2 / knocked down Markov, and the 3rd / went down. Markov dodged it, but the city wall behind him was not so lucky. A section of the Blackwater City wall, 3 meters thick, was cut out with a gap, and the gravel hit Markov's face, making his heart as cold as his demon-slaying knife. Markov then realized that he really didn't have much credit for defeating Leal before. It was all thanks to the alchemical potion. And this soldier was finally defeated by Leal. When the effect of the alchemical potion ended, the soldier's face was not red, and he was not panting. He even did dozens of push-ups in front of everyone. Everything Ian said came true. Instantly increased strength without side effects. Markov and the others Ian back to the MC world in a daze. More than 20 years of cultivation is not as good as 1 minute of taking drugs. So, after practicing and practicing, in the end, you practiced loneliness? This trance continued until Ian's light sentence ended. The blaze rod is the core material for making all alchemical potions, and the blaze rod has already been made into a farm. Other required materials can now basically be mass produced. Arm 5,000 people a day. In the future, as these farms become more and more numerous, there will be so many alchemical potions that you will pour 1 bottle after drinking 1 bottle. In the future, this thing will be standard equipment for the army under the Dawn Church. Power to defeat a powerful knight in a short period of time. Moreover, this potion has extremely high daily output and can reach an endless supply in the future. Multiply the 2 factors to get the result. The Dawn Church will mass produce powerful knights. The loyal army belonging to the Dawn Church will all become strong men at the lowest level of powerful knights. Even after adding MC equipment, their strength will be even stronger. Of course, the process of derivation has not ended here. Ian filled in the final derived result for them under the Dawn Church instantly become powerful knights on the battlefield. What kind of scenery will it be? Get ready, I'm going to launch an awesome charge. Chapter 68 I will lash your dignity with my odachi. Young Master Ian. The new batch of blaze rods has been brought back. Potions. Young Master Ian. Storage warehouse number 1 is filled with resources from the mob grinder. You can start brewing potions. You can start brewing potions. Ever since Markov was defeated by the ordinary soldiers who had taken the potions, Lear and the others went crazy. As soon as they returned to the MC world, their words were all urging Ian to quickly make potions. Even now, they have formed a fairly standard routine. Starting with young Master Ian, interspersed with reports of their work, and ending with you can start brewing potions. In just a short hours, Ian's ears were already calloused from hearing this routine there. When Ian said he was going to farm the mob grinder, Lear quickly stopped him. Young Master Ian, your hands are meant to brew the great Dawn God potion. Let us do this dirty work. When Ian said he was going to plan the expansion area of the farmland, Freya quickly stopped him. Great Dawn God potion. Let us do this tiring work. When Ian said he was going to pee, Rezha quickly stopped him. Young Master Ian, anyway, please let me do this. Of course, Ian flatly refused this matter. His kidneys were fine, and he didn't need to be held by someone. All kinds of alchemy potions opened Lear and the others' eyes. The strength, speed, jump, invisibility, etc. they had seen before were just appetizers. Fire resistance, regeneration, night vision, weakness, slow falling, and other functional potions were even more shocking to them. The fire resistance potion that allowed them to swim in lava. the regeneration potion, that allowed them to regenerate severed limbs. After drinking 8 potions, I can train an invincible army that can go to heaven and earth within a month. Scribbled on it and slapped it on Leah's face. This is the synthesis table of all alchemy potions and the required materials. Take it away and don't bother me. Leah wasn't annoyed either and carefully peeled it off his face to examine it for a moment. After a while, he exclaimed in surprise, "Here's even a turtle potion that increases defense. Is it made with turtle shells?" After saying that, Markov quickly selected a few knights, rode on the newly tamed Dempsey horse, and hurried towards the sea. The location of the sea was not too far away. Markov and the others rode their horses there, and could probably make 2 round trips before dawn. Ian wasn't worried about Markov and the others' safety either. At most, it was just slow on the road, and there wouldn't be any danger. Even if they really encountered danger, they could teleport back to Dawn Holy City at any time in the main world. Leah turned to look at Ian. The latter immediately narrowed his eyes. Ven already told you the secrets of all Ultramarines. If you dare say let me brew potions again, I'll show you what it means to create miracles with great power meant. Leah coughed lightly and said softly, it's getting late. And you've been running with us for so long, you should go to rest early. As soon as he finished speaking, before Ian could say anything, Regia's eyes lit up, and she became energetic again. With a shy and expectant look, she Ian's arm, and rubbed against him, as if she had fleas on her body. "Young Master Ian, your body is used for forget it. Young Master Ian, I'll accompany you." Ian pushed away Regia's delicate face that was approaching him with a blank expression, and then skillfully wiped the saliva on his palm on her body. He glanced at Leah and complained, "You still have some humanity, you should rest early too." "Absolutely not," Leah flatly refused, and said with a serious face, "We haven't slept for 3 days. We have to farm more phantom wings. Otherwise we'll have to wait 3 days again. It's as if you won't sleep in the future's not the case. I'm getting old, and I still have to maintain my sleep." Leah chuckled, then said, Markov and the others are still young. I plan to let them take shifts sleeping in the future. We must ensure that phantom wings are refreshed every day. Take shifts sleeping. This word really opened Ian's eyes after a long time. Ian patted Leah on the shoulder and said meaningfully, "You are a qualified cardinal. Keep it up. One day, you will definitely be hung on a lamppost." After saying that, regardless of Leah who was confused, Ian walked towards his house on his own. Regia followed with a giggle, carrying her skirt, and darted in before Ian closed the door. Unwavering determination. Ian was numb. For a moment, he couldn't tell whether this was sexual harassment or not. "Young Master Ian, continuing the Dawn is also the top priority of the Dawn God sect," Regia said earnestly. "The king has no children, the court will not be established, and so is the Dawn God sect." Ian rolled his eyes, grabbed Regia and strode towards the second. On this not so special noisy night, Regia finally got her wish and became a qualified nun who was inspected and unsealed by His Holiness the Pope. "This is what young Master Ian, continuing the Dawn is also the top priority of the Dawn God sect," Master Ian said. "If you never forget, there will be a response." The next morning, Regia, who opened her eyes from the bed, recalled the pleasant experience of last night, and muttered with a look of certainty. She turned her head and looked around, only to see Ian next to the workbench hang on Ian's back barefoot, limping. The infatuated smile on Regia's face faded a lot, probably because her dream had come true. At something heart that was missing half a square was also replenished. So, MC features always maintain a high degree of rigor in physics and physiology in this unnecessary place. After a bowl of rabbit meat casserole, Regia was resurrected with full blood, and turned around, and hung in front of Ian. "Young Master Ian," Regia said with a serious face, "he plan for the day is in the I should go and lash Leah and the others with my freshly baked otachi." Ian appreciated in great agreement, then reached out and took out a freshly baked unfamiliar batao sword from the workbench. "I should go and lash Leah and the others with my freshly baked otachi." Regia was stunned, only filled with admirable ambition. "He is the most powerful batao sword at the moment. The upgraded version of the white sheath, the otachi with powerful sword skills. Originally planned to make it last night, but you disrupted my progress." Regia's small face suddenly collapsed, and she glared at Ian angrily. Young Master Ian wiped me clean and then accused me of delaying your important matter, head and twisting her fingers shyly. Reja said shyly. It was obvious that young Master Ian had a lot of fun last night. After she finished speaking, she didn't receive Ian's reply for a long time. When she raised her head, she realized that Ian was already grabbing the odachi, excitedly gesturing and walking out the door. Ian, the only thing that responded to Reja was the heavy sound of the door closing. The room was silent, and Reja stood there blankly. After a long time, she sniffed, lowered her head and slowly rubbed back to the bed, to put on her clothes, sour feeling in her heart. Suddenly, a body exuding a burning aura wrapped around her from behind. Reja, who was familiar with every breath of Ian, immediately understood that this was Ian. A wet and hot touch came from one place on her cheek. Reja turned her head. Young Master Ian's smile was gentle, and instantly wiped away the sourness in Reja's heart. Orca's work. Life is life. Go and lash Leah and the others with me with the odachi first. And also thank you Lazy for making technology progress. Book Mountain Ink Search. Book Friend 2019. Book Friend 2022. And Hungry Little Fatty Paste for their monthly ticket support. Thank you for your recommendation tickets. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Urgent Report from Blackwater City. Zombies are attacking. Ian and Reja walked out of the house together, and Lael and the others, who hadn't slept all night, naturally saw everything clearly. Although somewhat surprised, they had long expected this development. Frankly speaking, knew about Reja's undisguised ambition for everyone for quite some time. Reja's gaze towards Ian was practically fiery. He to the throne. The court cannot be stable. Writing this, I hope readers remember our domain name. Taiwan Novel Network. The Forbes family only has Ian as a single descendant, and the development of the Dawn Church also hinges on Ian alone. Continuing Ian's bloodline is naturally Lael's top priority, but he was too busy with many things before, and he was too embarrassed to urge him. Now that's good. This matter is finally settled. Reja is a standard beauty, with both looks and figure, and she grew up with Ian since childhood. Loyal and devoted to him, then being able to watch Ian's children grow up, his life can be considered complete. However, Feeney didn't quite understand why, overnight, that bright and cheerful sister Reja suddenly became more mature and more feminine. Young Master Ian, Lael, put away his weapon and quickly greeted him. Good morning, Lael. Ian smiled and nodded, and then said, tell everyone to stop being busy. I'll show you a big treasure. Artifact. Still immersed in the joy brought by the alchemical potion, Lael immediately loudly called to quickly gather. Young Master Ian, what treasure do you have again? Markov, who had been running around all night, looked at Ian excitedly with dark circles under his eyes. For a moment, Ian was worried that this guy would suddenly die. Drawing out the dachi, this brand new Naruto that no one had ever seen immediately attracted everyone's attention. After thinking for a while, Lael's eyes lit up. Young Master Ian, has your white sheath been upgraded? Ian smiled mysteriously and said quietly, do you remember what I told you about the most powerful Naruto under the non-link module? This is one of them. Dachi, currently the highest damage weapon second only to Yamato. He finished speaking, Lael said without hesitation, dimensional slash. I will never forget it. Although he now has the evil exorcising sword technique involving space, the sword skill that cuts through space is vastly different from the evil exorcising sword technique. Lael sometimes couldn't sleep and wondered how dazzling that sword skill would be. The divine light in Lael's eyes became more and more excited. So, this dachi, that's right, Ian hinted decisively. As for how awesome it is, come, Lael, help me test the sword. Lael's face, which had been excited for a while, suddenly stiffened, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Point after a long while, Lael's tone was even more miserable than his face. Young Master Ian, am I destined to die today? In the end, under his own curiosity and Ian's urging, Lael still agreed. Ian had already guaranteed that he would suppress his power and synchronize with Lael. Based on this point, coupled with Ian's swordsmanship cultivation, that made people's eyes darken again and again, Lael felt that he might not lose too badly. But the reality still slapped Lael hard in the face. Is the duchy awesome? Extremely awesome. Lael guarantees with his life that he has never seen such a ruthless weapon in his life. Is dimensional slash awesome? Explosively awesome. Make this after not returning to Blackwater City for a few days. The situation in Blackwater City was still very smooth. Ian took Razor and the others away in one go, but the reliable Father Matthew was still there. In addition, Ian also arranged the next work plan for Father Matthew before leaving. With the addition of the Winged Clan, everything was going smoothly. All unreasonable buildings in Blackwater City were demolished. This is the only job that Father Matthew and the others are responsible for. And how to judge these so-called unreasonable buildings depends on the Iron Golem. Any road surface that collapses after the Iron Golem walks over is a tofu dreg project. Demolish. It is a tofu dreg project. The belief that this is the only thing we can do for the Great Dawn. The believers are full of enthusiasm. The progress of the work can be described as fast. Ian went to the Nether for 3 days, and when he came back, Blackwater City was basically demolished into a plain. Only the remaining construction waste that has not been moved proves that this was originally a city. The buildings that should not be left are demolished, and the next step is the real construction. As the city where the Dawn Church was born, Blackwater City, in Ian's vision, should be a holy land that will be passed down through the ages. The newest novels are first published here. Therefore, the construction here must be based on MC resources. So, the day after returning from the Nether, Razor and the other maids were sent out by Ian to build Blackwater City with MC blocks. While Blackwater City is becoming elegant and sacred at a speed visible to the naked eye, the Dawn Church nuns led by Razor are also accumulating the reputation of becoming Mother Mary Point originally. Razor and the others, who were not very prominent under Ian's command, have had their status in the hearts of the Blackwater City people close to Lael in just 2 days after all. In the past 2 days, they have been showing the miracle of MC all the time. Point in 2 days, brand new houses of various styles have sprung up, spacious and flat, and concrete roads that are as white as a church forever are also accessible in all directions, accumulating resources for the monster spawning tower and the blaze farm. Point with space, he can finally figure out various production oriented constructions, not to mention that the Dawn Holy City is planning automated farms and ranches. Ian also caught a batch of wolves to tame, which can be matched with the papal army in the future to form a proper Dawn Wolf cavalry. Point in addition, there is also the accumulation of wither skeleton heads, the horse breeding center, the Nether aerial transportation track, the zombie piglin farm, the piglin trading center. By the way, Ian also replaced all of Lael's equipment with a full set of diamond enchanted suits. Now their strength is difficult to determine. The search for the end is still on the plan for now. For Ian, whose main mission is to develop his power, the resources of the end are not as high in priority as the Nether be used to make lingering potions, but now ordinary potions and splash potions are enough for the army. Point Elytra can fly, but Ian has the Winged Clan point. If he wants to go to the sky, he can either be held by the fragrant Winged Clan Princess Hania, or fly with 2 Winged Clan members. Ender pearls. Isn't there a piglin farm and a piglin trading center? Shulker shells are related to the production of shulker boxes and cannot be ignored, but now ender chests can be mass produced. Although compared to shulker shells, which are like mobile hard drives, ender chests have limitations in cloud storage. However, everyone's ender chests are not interconnected. It is enough to give Lael and the others to transport goods and expand their backpack space. As for the dragon egg, to be honest, without the Dragonite module, the dragon egg doesn't seem to be of any use to Ian's development of the Dawn forces compared to an impractical achievement. Ian needs real and effective resources. Focusing on the development of the Nether is more helpful to Ian's current development plan. Point however, the end will eventually be found. Point when enough alchemy potions are stored to support large scale battles. Various equipment and horses are stored enough, and Lael's duchy is also made. Go and kill those 2 old dogs in the Canopy City first, and then it's not too late to slay the dragon and farm shulker shells in large quantities. Anyway, Ian doesn't lack these few days. Of course, Ian will not admit that he has a psychological shadow from running around in the Nether. He is a little worried that it will take 10.5 months to find the end. In any case, Ian has had a great time these days. In terms of work, the Dawn Church is rapidly developing. In life, living with Razor also allows Ian to maximize the elimination of fatigue like a ripe peach. Ian still has strong self-control. He doesn't have to write a diary of repentance for playing cards like Mr. Hushi. A beautiful future is coming quickly, and it is easier to reach dreams every day. But things will not always go as planned. The third day, after returning from the Nether. This evening, Ian had just finished playing cards with Razor, and was talking about some private matters. Freeney's series of messages bombarded Ian's private messages. Annoyed, Ian wanted to say to Freeney, maintain a good separation between work and life. Until Freeney's message came into view, Ian's face suddenly darkened. Urgent report from Blackwater City. Zombies are attacking. Thank you for your support. The editor informed me that this book will be on the shelves tomorrow. No matter how good the results are, thank you for your support all the time. I will keep writing. Chapter 70. The Miracle of Awaiting Dawn. The edge of Blackwater City's north gate. This place was piled high with construction waste that hadn't been moved in time. Originally, this was a place no one cared about, but now it was bustling with people. A large number of torches from the MC world had been placed in all directions, and even square stone blocks had been used to surround the area, blocking the view of the believers. The papal army surrounded the area every 3 steps, and winged warriors holding longbows circled and patrolled the sky. Lyre and the others had already arrived at this place, and Markov and the others were wearing priceless enchanted diamond armor. Old Matthew and Uriel stood beside Lyre, whispering something with guilty expressions. The army surrounded the place so tightly that not even water could leak through. But it still couldn't stop the creepy roars that faintly came from behind the stone wall. From time to time, there were even scolloped eyes flickering in the darkness, like terrifying monsters lurking. Freeney's loud voice echoed in everyone's ears. His Holiness the Pope has arrived. In an instant, the Winged Army swooped down, and the Papal Army cut across the path, forcibly opening a passage the ground like wheat being cut down. The original anxiety in their hearts disappeared the moment they saw Ian's gentle smile. Ian strode to Lyre's side, and Uriel quickly stepped forward, about to say something, but Ian slightly raised his hand to interrupt him. He gave Razor a look, and the latter understood, stepping forward and saying some polite words, persuading the believers to disperse and go back to sleep. Sense of security surged in their hearts, and they all left yawning. Before long, only Lyre and the other clergy, plus the army and the winged warriors, remained here. Then Ian looked at Lyre with a puzzled expression and said, "What's going on?" As soon as he finished speaking, Uriel, this strong man, immediately kicked 2 young winged warriors, and then he himself fell to his knees like a mountain. His voice was full of self-blame. "Please punish me, Your Holiness the Pope. Demonic monsters attacked Blackwater City, injuring many believers. This matter is entirely our winged warriors' dereliction of duty. These 2 bastards actually neglected their duties, allowing so many demons to enter the city and injure people. These 2 have violated the Dawn's faith, and are at the mercy of His Holiness the Pope. Your subordinate's supervision was lax, and should also be dealt with." Ian frowned slightly, somewhat puzzled. The Winged Warriors' patrol of Blackwater City was quite serious, so how could zombies suddenly appear? Lyre leaned close to Ian and whispered, "These 2 winged warriors hadn't eaten for a day. It happened that the zombies attacked during the shift change, and it was dark at the time. The north of the city was piled with construction waste, which allowed the city zombies to enter the city." Ian slightly and said softly, "Get up. This matter cannot be entirely blamed on you. The winged warriors are not made of iron. It is not unforgivable to have oversights during shifts." Your Holiness the Pope Uriel wanted to say something, but Ian raised his hand to interrupt him. "Alright, that's it for this matter. Whatever punishment you have internally is your own winged warriors' business, but they were not neglecting their duties, and don't need to be too harsh. I think that as devout believers of the Dawn, they are already feeling tormented by such an incident." Ian glanced at the 2 winged warriors on the ground. As expected, the burly men all had red eyes, wishing they could commit suicide to apologize. Ian couldn't bear to punish such loyal warriors. "Your Holiness the Pope, these zombies." Lyre leaned close to Ian's ear and whispered a sentence. Ian paused and said, I know. This matter is not entirely a matter of lax supervision. Someone is plotting, right? Your Holiness the Pope is holy. Markov praised loudly, and then dragged out more than a dozen fragmented corpses from the ruins. After the incident, Bishop Lyre felt that everything was too coincidental. It happened to coincide with the change of shifts for the winged patrolmen, and it was at the city north entrance with the most obstacles. So, he sent us out of the city to search, and sure enough, we found these guys with ulterior motives. We encountered resistance during the arrest, and they have all been executed. Ian glanced at them, sneering in his heart. Although the corpses were incomplete, he knew whose handiwork this was without looking. In this world, besides his MC world, there is no place where those kinds of zombies can be born. And the only time zombies were sent out of the MC world by Ian was at Canopy City. Very good. He hadn't gone to them yet, but those two guys had learned to borrow strength. It seems that he had let some people live a little too long. I already understand the situation. Ian's expression was calm as he raised his foot and walked inside. Your Holiness the Pope. Uriel hesitated a little, but Ian smiled and said, don't worry, in the Dawn's territory, could something happen to me, I need to confirm the children's situation and report to the Dawn to save them. Uriel looked at Ian with a look of anticipation and disbelief. The Pope. But those people are already there. Dawn will not allow its children to die so hastily. Ian didn't say more, crossed the cordon, and began to check the specific situation with a large group of people. Lyre followed beside him, pointing to both sides and introducing, Your Holiness the Pope. Although the incident was sudden, the winged warriors in the papal army resolved it quickly. The notification was timely, and with the iron golems guarding the area, there was no major damage. The enclosure on the left contains the injured children of the Dawn. 12 seriously injured who have not yet mutated, and 7 who have completely fallen into demons. The right side contains the original culprits of this demonic attack. Originally 574 were killed in battle, and now there are 426 left. As soon as he finished speaking, Uriel hurriedly said, Your Holiness the Pope, these demons have never appeared before, and are likely a new type of demon. We don't know their specific situation. The Dawn knows. Ian's tone was still so calm and composed. He checked each of the Blackwater City citizens who were locked up. Those who were seriously injured were now also dying and looked like they would mutate at any time. Before, Ian really had no way to deal with it and could only lock them up first. But now zombie infection. Children. You don't need to have too much burden. They will all be fine. Saying that, Ian whispered to Lyre, go back to the number 4 alchemy potion warehouse and get splash weakness potions. Go to the number 7 gold vault and get 5 stacks of gold blocks. Lyre nodded and quickly left. Before, Lyre would have worried a little if Ian suddenly took so many gold blocks, wondering if Ian was going to squander them again. But now gold, since the piglin farm was completed, had become commonplace. Point 1 number 7 gold vault stored at least several hundred stacks of gold blocks. The Dawn Holy City had 10 such gold vaults, although not all of them stored gold. The total number of gold blocks that Ian and his team currently possessed was also over 1,000 stacks. This was after collecting too much that Lyre and the others finally got tired of gold and stopped accumulating it. Otherwise, Ian would really have to build a golden house to hide his beauty. Uriel and the others were relieved to receive Ian's promise. Although they hadn't seen the results, hadn't the miracles created by the Dawn and His Holiness the Pope been few? Just believe. Before long, Lyre returned with a large amount of supplies and handed them over to Ian, and then thoughtfully made a crafting table. Speaking of which, this was the first time Ian had demonstrated the miracle of MC synthesis in front of Uriel and the others. Ian, with a gold ingot in one hand and an apple in the other, inexplicably thought of the catchy song I Have a Pen, I Have an Apple from his previous life. He withdrew his impetuous and quickly thoughts synthesized several golden apples. Your Holiness the Pope, the seriously injured believers have all turned into zombies. Just then, Lyre leaned over and whispered Ian slightly. What he wanted was to turn into zombies. Otherwise, Ian really didn't know if MC milk could cure this kind of poison. Throw potions at the demonized believers. He instructed Lyre, and Ian followed, and when all the believers had entered a weakened state, Ian took out the golden apples again. The weight of this thing, outside of the MC world, once released, no one but Ian could pick it up. Therefore, Ian could only feed the zombie believers himself, but in the eyes of Uriel and the others, that was a symbol of the great His Holiness the Pope caring for his people, like a father's compassion. One by one, they were moved to tears again. As for the golden apple in Ian's hand, they simply assumed that it was an apple attached with the Dawn's divine power, and didn't even imagine that thing was actually pure gold. Lyra and the others knew, but now, even if Ian used gold to make a toilet, they would still smile and praise Ian for having ideas. After handing out the golden apples to the zombified believers one by one, Ian took a step back in madness. He couldn't see anything. These people were probably dead finally. After 2 minutes, Uriel couldn't sit still. Your Holiness the Pope, these believers are all ready. If you can't bring yourself to do it, let your subordinates show them mercy. The only response to Uriel was still one word from Ian. Wait. Uriel pursed his lips and asked, Your Holiness the Pope, what are we waiting for? Finally, Ian noticed the changes subtle in the zombie believers, and a big stone in his heart fell to the ground. He turned around and said gently, waiting for the miracle of dawn. Thank you for your support, everyone. It's on the shelves. Chapter 71, A Just and Honorable War. Ever since Ian used the golden apple to heal the believers injured by zombies, the apple has become a fruit symbolizing holiness and miracles within the Dawn Church. Lyra and the others weren't surprised, as Ian had used golden apples to heal zombie villagers in the MC world before. Although after the treatment, these villagers were thrown by Ian to generate electricity, but such things were common, and indeed not worth their amazement. But for Uriel and the others, this was unbelievable. For so many years that the 100 races of the Road continent had fought against the demon race, they had never heard of a life that had been transformed into an undead creature, basically equivalent to death. Could it actually be restored to its original state? Frankly speaking, what was the difference between this and resurrection? But as one believer after another awakened and understood what had happened, they knelt on the ground in gratitude, shouting Ian's mercy. This outrageous thing that no one would believe if it were said became a reality. It turned out that under the gaze of the dawn, the destined death of life could also be denied by the dawn. At this moment, Uriel sincerely realized the value of Ian's words. What the children of dawn will become, only dawn can decide. So if a loyal child of the dawn dies in battle, they will also follow the dawn to ascend to heaven. This thing must be true. Before long, all the believers who had turned into zombies were resurrected, and Ian hadn't used up all his materials. So, he used the remaining golden apples and potions of weakness to rescue some zombies from Canopy City. Your Holiness, why waste such precious miracles on these demons? Uriel was a little puzzled, but Ian's expression was compassionate. Look closely, how are they different from the infected believers? After a moment of recollection, Uriel probably understood that these so-called demons were probably also victims. It's just, they are not children of the dawn. Hania muttered in a low voice. In her opinion, these people who did not believe in the dawn were not qualified to receive the blessings of the dawn. Lear's apples and splash potions of weakness weren't very many. In the end, less than 100 of these hundreds of zombie villagers from Canopy City were restored. At this time, they were standing there blankly, dazed. Judging from their images, if there were no surprises, they were all ordinary citizens of Canopy City, ruthless. Ian sneered in his heart, but he wasn't surprised. With their cold-bloodedness and brutality, it was not surprising that they would do such a thing. But in the end, these people were also pitiful. Their transformation was inextricably linked to Ian. Although Ian didn't regret what he had asked Markov to do, he wouldn't just leave them alone. Leave this place to you. Let the believers go back to rest first, and please take care of these foreign children first. Ian retracted his thoughts, instructed old Matthew, and then said, go back to the meeting. Uriel, you come too. Yes, Your Holiness. They came in a hurry, and finally left in a hurry. This back and forth was just a matter of solving a minor disturbance that was not worth mentioning. And the real storm was just about to begin. Inside the City Lord's mansion conference room, Ian sat upright at the head. Lear and the others stood on both sides, while Uriel and Hania knelt in the field. Ian didn't blame them, but they felt ashamed to sit down, because their work had gone so wrong, which could be regarded as pleading guilty with thorns on their backs. Your Holiness, tonight's events have reminded us. Leah said meaningfully, we do want to quietly listen to the teachings of the dawn and unite our strength to fight against the demon race, but many people don't think so. On the Canopy City side, the Cleveland and Lyman families have coveted us for a long time. This is not the first time they have plotted against us. As the saying goes, there won't be a third time after the second. Your Holiness, it's time for us to take action. Ian slightly. If Uriel and Hania weren't here, he would have cursed the Cleveland and Lyman families' ancestors for 18 generations. But if there were outsiders present, the real demon is in the heart. Facts have proved that not everyone is qualified to receive the grace of the dawn. Before the dawn descends and defeats the shadow of the demon race, we need a great cleansing. As soon as he finished speaking, Markov, who was eager to try, hadn't opened his mouth to ask for a battle, but Uriel gritted his teeth and said, Your Holiness, the winged race asks to fight Canopy City. Under the protection of the dawn, we can bring Canopy City into the domain of the dawn in just one day. Let those real demons be turned into ashes by the divine power of the dawn. They had just joined Blackwater City and hadn't made any contributions yet. Instead, they almost made a big mistake because of some omissions. The winged race was almost ashamed to death, and they hated the culprits of this matter, the Cleveland and Lyman families of Canopy City, so much that they couldn't wait to skin them alive. What if the Great Dawn and His Holiness thought they were incompetent because of this matter? The winged race couldn't lose this opportunity. Be safe and don't be impatient. Ian raised his hand to interrupt Uriel, pondered for a moment, and then a gleam flashed in his eyes. The latest novels are first published. Uriel, you must understand that Canopy City is just an insignificant individual case. The matter of Canopy City has made us understand where the real demon is. On the road continent, where the demon race is rampant today, how many cities are like this? How many innocent lambs are being persecuted? Ian's tone became more and more emotional, revealing a strong bewitching power. This world is full of filth. Perhaps our eyes shouldn't be limited to Canopy City and the demon race. So, Uriel, I want you to lead the winged race to do something. Uriel clasped his fists with a snap and said in a deep voice, where His Holiness points is where the winged race will sacrifice their lives. No matter what it is, the winged race will perfectly complete it for His Holiness. Very good. Ian nodded with satisfaction. Go hand out leaflets. Left. Fortunately, its demeanor and speech were not so rigid anymore. Leah frowned, looking puzzled. Young Master Ian, why bother so much? Canopy City only has more than 3,000 troops. We send out 100 people. With the alchemy potion, we can pacify Canopy City in half a day. Why bother with a propaganda war? Window, looking at the Blackwater City at night. Leah, what is it called when the demon race attacks the territory of the 100 Races Alliance? Invasion. Then, what is it called when the 100 Races Alliance attacks the demon race's territory? Counterattack. Which title sounds better? Looking sideways at Leah, who was somewhat dazed, the latter remained silent, and Ian shook his head. Our current strength is indeed unparalleled, but you must understand that conquest is easy, but governance is difficult. In this world, everything is about seeking a title. If we forcibly conquer Canopy City with force, how much time will it take to win the hearts of the people of Canopy City? How will the 100 Races Alliance view the Dawn Church? If we make the 100 Races Alliance of us, how long will war it take us to resolve their vigilance and bring them into our fold? This is a self-justification trap, and the best way to escape this trap is to let others argue for us. So, I want faith to come first. At that time, this war will be called liberation. Ian raised his hand and placed it on the cold glass. The heat from his palm spread on the glass, and the white mist on the glass also expanded outward from his palm point. The smile on Ian's lips became more and more profound. Leah, you must understand that once this war begins, it cannot be stopped by just one Canopy City. What we want should not only be Canopy City, but also the Bilka Principality, the Pris Kingdom, the human race, the elf race, the entire 100 Races Alliance. The foundation has been laid, and what follows is the Dawn's endless expansion and conversion. The Dawn Church, in the final analysis, is a papal rule disguised as benevolence, but this rule is only in faith. In this case, what this war needs most is not victory, but 4 words: turning. his head suddenly, Ian's eyes were stern, and he said word by word, just and honorable. Seeking first order. Seeking support. Chapter 72. The essence of a war of faith is handing out leaflets. Handing out leaflets is a means of propaganda warfare has always been effective in Ian's hometown. During World War II in the 1930s and 40s, when fighting on the island of Sicily, the Allied Psychological Warfare Department extensively airdropped leaflets over Sicily. The leaflets were filled with earnest words, first sowing discord between the Italians and the Germans, claiming that the Italians were scapegoats for the Germans. Then, they vigorously promoted the benefits of surrender. Hey, believe it or not, the Italians on Sicily didn't hesitate to grab the leaflets and surrender. To eat pasta. Point later, even surrender leaflets became hot commodities in the Italian army. Point of course, many people would say that the Italians were surrenderers to begin with and cannot be used as a reference point. Then what about the N-King country after the 21st century? Aren't they non-surrenderers? Their N-King education has reached its peak, and from the moment they are born, they can never repay the kindness of the sun in their entire lives. Logically speaking, being isolated from the world, they wouldn't care about propaganda warfare. But what is the reality? A single leaflet from the Koreans made the general burn with anger. Before long, Ian might not even need to show his face and display miracles, and Canopy City would have to change its surname to Dawn. Even after the Dawn Church takes over Canopy City, taking over the rule will not have any obstacles, and they will be directly pushed onto the altar by the citizens of Canopy City. Also be the standard operating procedure for all wars on the path of Dawn's expansion, starting from Canopy City. High-end wars of faith often have the most simple combat methods. So, Ian really had people make leaflets, and on the most conspicuous position, it was written, in the land illuminated by the dawn, all children who devoutly believe in the dawn can receive eggs and bread at the beginning of each month. This sentence is enough. Isn't this how the Dawn Church made its fortune? In addition, Ian hasn't been idle these past few days, up the process of leading the construction of Dawn Holy City and Blackwater City, and the development of the MC world is also accelerating point, and in a blink of an eye, another week has passed in the busy schedule. In one day, Blackwater City and the MC world can create countless speeding miracles. What kind of legend will a week create? The current Blackwater City may be the most perfect answer. The originally decadent and barren image of the city has vanished forever. The city wall, which is 20 meters high and about 6 meters thick, is entirely made of pure white concrete, just like the church. It is flat, thick, and full of a sacred and solemn aura. The city wall has wide walkways and sentry posts, and the winged people and the church army patrol on it with full spirits. Just looking at the city wall, it is strong enough to kill Leviathan by crashing into it. The entire city has 4 gates in the east, west, south, and north. Outside the east gate, on both sides of the road, are the endless farmlands that have been moved outside the city. Various crops are growing very healthily, and look like they are already ripe, but no one is farming or managing them. Only dozens of iron golems wander aimlessly among the farms. Occasionally, you can see dark red blood scabs on the iron golems, which are from some magical beasts. The intersection in the very center is a huge square. On the square, a pure white church stands tall, with a brilliant pillar of light blooming from its top, reaching straight into the sky, which is still clearly visible even during the day. It makes the church even more sacred and magnificent. Roadside to decorate the greenery. The Dawn believers who appear in the houses are all dressed neatly and cleanly. They look full of energy and spirit, and they look very healthy, with a very high happiness index. After the church, walking straight along the flat concrete road for about 2 kilometers, you can see a huge, still pure white large fountain. The water in it is endless and crystal clear. At a glance, you can tell that it is water from the MC world. Behind the fountain is a magnificent white castle, consistent with the style of this city. Winged warriors in full armor and holding longbows patrol at the entrance and around the castle at any time. Today's Blackwater City does not recognize the city lord or the king, only the Dawn Church. Overall, the entire city is pure white. As the saying goes, if you want to be pretty, wear filial piety. The city is obviously the same a new name for this brand new Blackwater City. He did consider calling it Jerusalem, but after thinking about it, he still felt it was not appropriate. This name is easy to be aerated. So, For the time being, it is referred to as the land of origin point. The changes in the land of origin this week are not limited to this kind of appearance time, protecting the city's safety center. There are fierce shouts of killing here at all times. From time to time, winged people soar into the sky and quickly draw their bows and arrows to practice archery. The military garrison is basically divided into 3 areas. One is the garrison of the Holy See Army, the second is the training base of the Winged People Army, and the third is the storage area for special war materials. There, thousands of tall horses wearing iron armor are raised. All of the Dawn Church's current Holy See Army are cavalry, and separated by a wall, there are densely packed, well-trained wolf packs. These wolves also have military formations. There are probably several thousand of them, and in terms of strength, they are much stronger than the army that has not taken all chemical potions. Wolves in the MC world are also considered magical beasts in the Rodri continent. So, the Dawn Church's existing military strength, not counting Leal and the others, whose strength has soared in the past few days. Let's just talk about the Holy See Army. It is already enough to easily pacify the Bilka Principality. Standing at the highest point of the military base, Ian, accompanied by Leisure and the others, has inspected the current land of origin. Ian couldn't be more satisfied with the work this week. This is just the change in the land of origin. The development of the Dawn Holy City and the MC world is even more amazing. Functional buildings, not to mention the expansion of a wider territory. Just talk about one thing. Now in the MC world, Ian has already lived in a more status enhancing aerial island Manivela Point. Even Leal and the others have built lower level aerial island residences. The achievements made by focusing on development are terrifying. If Ian wants to sort out his existing heritage now, he has to think for an hour or two. The alchemical potions alone are enough to support the Dawn Church's army in fighting several wars to destroy countries. Currently, Ian has finished brushing all the progress he should brush in the MC world. The end portal has also been located. Basically, except for not getting the common sense ending achievement of slaying the dragon, there is nothing left. Ian understands that the MC world gate must have already unlocked the next stage of rewards. It is even possible to unlock 2 stages in one go. But Ian is not in a hurry. Currently, the Batao sword module is only missing the Yama knife, and the war preparations are almost done. This reward, let's wait for the Children of Dawn to bring him a victory, and at that time, slay the end shadow dragon. With the blessing of this winning streak buff, maybe you can get better rewards. Ian doesn't care about these few days. Compared to slaying the dragon, he now hopes to see the Cleveland and Lyman families slaughtered. Good. Suddenly, a earth-shattering shout interrupted Ian's thoughts. Looking down, Hanei stood proudly in the field, dressed in full armor and heroic. The surrounding winged people and the church army praised with admiration. Young Master Ian, Hanei just shot through 14 targets with 1 arrow. Broke Uriel's record. Leisure explained. Ian slightly and chuckled. Converting it, she should also be over level 50 in the MC world, right? Such a good talent. It seems that my Dawn Church is going to have another genius war god. Young Master Ian should praise himself for having discerning eyes. Leisure teased Ian with a smile. Ian didn't express his opinion, but looked up at the pillar of light reaching the sky at the top of the church. The miracle that Dawn believers call the Dawn's Gaze is the beacon that Ian has made during this time meeting. Ian turned and left, and Leisure and the others quickly followed, whispering, "Young Master Ian, are we going to conquer Canopy City? No. It's the Bilka Principality." Chapter 73. The army sets out. This war is called Liberation. Thanks to the pervasive propaganda and the first-hand accounts of former Crown City residents, various rumors are now rampant in Crown City. The concept of the Aurora Church has taken root in people's hearts through comparison, and the public's dissatisfaction with Cleveland and the Lyman family is becoming increasingly apparent. However, since most of the city defense forces are loyalists brought by these 2 families from the royal capital, Crown City can't stir up too much trouble. Inside the castle's conference room, Uriel reported the recent gains to Ian. Thanks to the excellent mobility of the Winged Clan warriors, we have never been discovered. Currently, these 2 families are busy suppressing the spread of public opinion. Your Holiness, according to the Winged Clan warriors, the Cleveland and Lyman families are in close contact with the royal capital of the Bilka Duchy, and may be involved in the Crown Prince's succession battle. race arrived in the city some time ago. Ian slightly, not feeling particularly surprised. The elf race's research into the demon race is already among the most in-depth in the 100 Races Alliance. The sudden zombie attack, Cleveland, and Lyman seeking help from the royal capital. Contacting the elf race is normal. If the elf race knows that a new type of demon race has appeared, they will naturally send people to investigate. If nothing unexpected happens, there will definitely be an elf druid mage. Leal also spoke up. Our clergy have also entered the 4 cities adjacent to Crown City to begin evangelizing. To ensure smooth evangelization, I have mobilized some bone powder and food as support. Currently, the 4 cities also have about 3,000 Aurora believers. Your Holiness, should we make the next strategic plan for conquering Crown City? Ian smiled without saying a word and looked at Markov. Holy Knight Markov, report on the current combat sequence of our Aurora Church. Yes. Markov stood uply, his tone full of pride. After this period of development and abrupt preparation, the Aurora Church has a standing papal army of 1,600 men, and horse breeding has reached the point where each person can have 2 horses. The Winged Clan army has 900 men, all of whom can skillfully use the Aurora Divine Bow. There are 3,000 wolves in the wolf pack, each with strength comparable to the demonic beast Gale Wolf. Potions, etc., can all meet the needs of a major war lasting 2 months. Has the confidence to win any war of national annihilation. The development of the papal army greatly surprised Leal, who had not had time to pay attention to them during this period. Thinking back from the time he came to Blackwater City until now, it seems that it has only been about a month. Decade's tone slightly teasing. Archbishop Leal, do you have any strategic planning suggestions? Leal smiled bitterly and shook his head. Your Holiness, with the power we currently possess, Crown City is simply not enough to become our stumbling block. Then march the army, Ian said decisively. Immediately, he pressed his hands on the table and leaned forward. Order. Archbishop Leal is the supreme commander of this battle, leading 700 papal cavalry and 300 winged clan warriors to liberate Crown City. This battle does not require any strategy. Wherever the Aurora arrives, it will sweep away all impurity with thunderous force. Let Crown City receive the grace of the Aurora. All war preparation materials will be allocated by Sister Lecture. Archbishop Leal, I'm waiting for the good news you bring back to the Aurora at the origin land. Forever. Before long, Howland and the other knights followed Lecture and the others to retrieve the supplies. If nothing unexpected happens in this battle, the longest stage should be the journey. As for Crown City, to put it bluntly, Ian would think highly of them if they could withstand half a day. Leal stayed behind to confirm the final details with Ian. The huge conference room was only occupied by the 2 of them. Gazing at Ian sitting in the sunlight, Leal couldn't help but sigh. Their young master Ian is becoming more and more like a pope. Papal army. This arrow shot from Crown City must fly for a while longer in the Bilka Duchy. Leal nodded in agreement, then whispered, young master Ian, what about the people from the Cleveland and Lyman families? Capture them alive if possible. Leal frowned. Before he could ask, Ian chuckled. I'm afraid they'll die too easily. Crown City. Have you heard? The zombie plague is still spreading. The Yachi family in the East City disappeared today. In the alleyway, the crowd whispered. The next moment, an ashing and sarcastic voice sounded. Is there even a need to say it? It's all thanks to our 2 benevolent city lords. Damn nobles. Our lives are cheaper than slimes in their eyes. It would be great if we could leave the city. No matter what, I want to go and see the blessed cities by the great Aurora. The redemption voucher says that there are miracles everywhere. People are well fed and warmly dressed, and there is no need to worry about the demon race. Someone muttered in a low voice. Could it be fake? How could it be? If the redemption voucher is fake, are those guys fake too? Everyone saw that Modo became a poison man. But what about now? They are living happily in Blackwater City. The newest novels are first published here. Every day, you only need to pray, complete your work, and you can get the beautiful life that you never dared to imagine before. And there is also the protection of the Aurora. The crowd fell silent. After a long time, someone resented. It's a pity that the damn noble lackeys have sealed the city. I heard that they are also frantically searching for redemption vouchers recently. Yesterday, old Drew's hidden redemption voucher was found, and he was beaten to death, alas. When will this day end? When will the Aurora come to redeem us? Are we still not pious enough? As soon as he finished speaking, heavy footsteps came from the entrance of the alley. The city defense army is here. Run. In an instant, the crowd scattered like birds and beasts, escaping with the help of the complex terrain. Before long, the city defense army rushed over, smashed everything around, took away the scattered redemption vouchers on the ground, and left. Bang. Days. In the city lord's mansion conference room, Cleveland and Lyman looked at the redemption vouchers burning and gradually turning to ashes with gloomy faces. Damn little bastard. He really has the audacity to play this game with us? Cleveland's eyes brewed with flames of resentment, and he grabbed the collar of a city defense soldier. Haven't you caught anyone yet? No. Waste. The 18th vase was smashed by the city defense soldier. Alright, it's useless for you to vent your anger on him, Lyman said with a cold face and a stiff tone. Cleveland quickly stepped forward. Brother Lyman, you have also seen the situation in Crown City these past few days. Those lowly people dare to rebel. What will we do if this continues? Damn it. The elf race hasn't made a move yet. That little bastard is pulling this trick on me. Damn it. We should have killed him directly back then. As soon as he finished speaking, Lyman's eyes suddenly lit up, and he grabbed Cleveland. Brother, what did you just say? Kill him directly? Yes. Kill him directly, Lyman said and slammed his palm hard, excited. We have really been too busy lately. Again, I guess. No, I'm sure. Blackwater City must be ravaged by poison men now, so that little bastard is using this stupid trick to contain us. Cleveland was a little impatient. Brother, just say what you want to say, don't keep me in suspense. Lyman's eyes flashed, annoyed by Cleveland's attitude, but he still responded. While we have the chance, we can completely mobilize the army and directly kill to Blackwater City, to encircle and suppress that little. As for that little bastard, it would be very reasonable for him to die at the hands of the poison men, right? If we then ask the third prince to mediate, His Majesty the King won't care about a fallen Forbes family. Hearing this, Cleveland couldn't sit still. He stood up abruptly and urged, Brother, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and mobilize the troops. I'll be uncomfortable for every day that little bastard lives. The gloom on Lyman's face disappeared, and he took a deep look at Cleveland, then strode out of the conference room. Order, the whole army to assemble. In Lord City Lord, something bad has happened. There is an army pressing down on the city. Chapter 74 MC Armored Heavy Cavalry. Random. Filled with anger and worry, Lyman and Cleveland quickly ascended the city wall. But upon seeing the densely packed army outside the city, the hearts that were hanging in suspense finally died. Under the sunlight, the tightly arranged army wore gleaming armor and held sharp-long swords. Their mounts were equally armored. Tall war horses exuded a fervent and sacred aura. Above the cavalry, there was another group of troops. These were the winged ones, who had disappeared from the Rodri continent for a very long time. At this moment, they were also armed to the teeth, each holding a longbow and carrying a quiver of arrows. Their wings beat in unison, creating gusts of wind soared at his waist. Lear. Lyman roared through gritted teeth, but his heart grew heavier. This development was completely beyond his expectations. He never imagined that the Forbes family, those old, weak, and disabled individuals in Blackwater City, a place so poor that birds wouldn't even lay eggs, could raise such a terrifying army. Heavy cavalry was a rarity. The entire Bilka Duchy only had 1 or 2,000, yet Blackwater City had raised so many. Most outrageous of all, the Forbes family actually possessed bowmen, a scarce resource among humans. And they were all winged ones. Although the winged ones had disappeared for quite some time, no one could forget their innate status as archers. At this moment, Lyman couldn't bother speculating about how Ian had managed to create such an army. Now things might turn sour. Lyman secretly gestured to the guards behind him, then stood on the city wall and roared, Lear, you were assigned to Blackwater City. Instead of focusing on developing the city, you've mobilized troops and surrounded our canopy city. What are you trying to do? Privately raising so many heavy cavalry and colluding with the traitors of the 100 Races Alliance. Sinners. The winged ones. Ear to Lyman's frantic rebuke, he quietly observed Canopy City for a while, then raised his hand and said only 2 words. Attack. Dawn Eternal. Along with Lear's understated command, the earth-shaking sound of hooves and the cloud-shattering cries rang out simultaneously, inspiring, and the drumbeats were intense and passionate. But the gates of Canopy City swung open, and the city defense elite charged out on horseback. In the blink of an eye, they collided with the Holy See army. In that first exchange, the city defense force understood that they were doomed today. Their long swords struck the enemy, and even when the swords broke, they didn't inflict the slightest damage. Warhorses forward. The ironclad warhorses charged head-on, and both the city defense horses and the soldiers themselves were instantly reduced to bloody mist. In an instant, hundreds of people were directly smashed apart. Demons. These are true demons. Under the hooves, the city defense elite immediately broke down. Those who were lucky enough to jump off their horses and escape fled in the opposite direction. However, the Holy See's heavy cavalry was not the conventional type that sacrificed mobility and speed for extreme speed, power and defense. The horses from the MC the world were even more mobile than the cloud-winged Pegasi of the elven race. With a pull of the reins, the Holy See's cavalry horses turned around in place and chased after the fleeing city defense force. Before long, the iron hooves once again passed over, leaving behind a bloody mist and deep ravines in the earth. Lyman and Cleveland's eyes were about to split open. Where the hell did these heavy cavalry come from? Purely relying on their horses, they had forcibly killed 800 city defense elites, while the Holy See army was unscathed. These were earth dragons in horse skin. Close the gates. Close the gates. Defend the city for me. Anyone who dares to retreat will be killed. Lyman drew his knight's long sword and raised it high, then turned to look at Cleveland. Quick. Send out the knights and mages. At this critical moment of life and death, Cleveland didn't dare to hold back. Once the city gates were closed, hundreds of knights and dozens of mages from the Lyman and Cleveland families ascended the city walls. Large stones were lifted above their heads and smashed down on the Holy See army. Various spells accompanied the arcane incantations, flying towards the winged ones in the sky. Lear did not command, he simply sat on his horse at the rear, watching quietly. Potions. Cleveland fought the Holy See army one-on-one, they would surely die. Command? That was an insult to the Holy See army. The large stones and spells, carrying all of Lyman and Cleveland's hopes, finally collided with the Holy See army and the winged ones. But as the smoke and dust dissipated, the hopes that had just risen were shattered once again. Mages' spells, when they touched the winged ones, dissipated like a reflection in a mirror. How is this possible? Cleveland slumped onto the city wall, looked up at the sun, and pondered the time in his heart. With the current strength of the Holy See army, Canopy City was not difficult to conquer. Did they really need to bide their time and wait for a fatal blow when they were using a sledgehammer to crack a nut? His gaze swept across the walls of Canopy City. The left and right sides will be torn down and rebuilt anyway. Lear slightly raised his hand and gripped the katana at his waist. In the next moment, he unleashed a sword strike without any build-up. Dimensional slash. It was as if space itself was shattered, leaving behind intersecting sword marks that traversed the battlefield and bloomed on the city gates of Canopy City. Boom. Without any dazzling special effects, the thick city gates of Canopy City, along with a section of the city wall, were reduced to rubble. The knights and mages of the two families who were nearby were buried along with it, and most complete novels are first published at siege. Those 2 words again. Lyman and Cleveland were horrified. A few minutes ago, the appearance of these 2 words had easily buried the city defense elite. What about this time? Run. Run. Even if the royal capital's army came, it was estimated that they would be annihilated. These guys weren't here for revenge, they really wanted to rebel. Cleveland belatedly realized this, and quickly followed in Lyman's footsteps. Just a few hundred meters away, another earth-shattering explosion sounded behind him. Cleveland glanced back, and was immediately terrified, causing a large number of buildings to collapse. As for the people, there was no need to say more. They were now chasing after the remaining troops and encircling them. Like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, no matter how much they resisted, they couldn't shake them even an inch or harm them in the slightest. Idiots. Run. What are you still looking at? Lyman cursed loudly from the front. Immediately, Cleveland lowered his head and ran for his life. The only plan now was to take advantage of the chaos in the city while these demons were still encircling the city defense force and quickly escape. If Canopy City was lost, it was lost. In this situation, even if the demon race came to defend, they wouldn't be able to hold on. Where did this army look like a human army? Even the elite of the elven race were probably no match. If they escaped Canopy City, they could return to the royal capital and find the third prince. At that time, they would report the Forbes family's rebellion and let the royal capital decide no. This matter probably required the king to contact other duchies and kingdoms to have a chance to resist, but that would have nothing to do with them. First, they had to save their lives. Taking advantage of the chaos in the city, Cleveland and Lyman quickly returned to their family's residence. However, even greater despair awaited them there. Seeing the family residence just ahead, Cleveland rushed forward with hope. In the next moment, a sharp sound of air being torn apart came. Cleveland couldn't help but stagger and roll on the ground several times, looking like a dung beetle pushing a ball of dung. After a long time, a scream finally came from his mouth. His two legs, under the accurate arrows of the Winged One's archers, were directly blown off. The Winged One warrior flapped his wings and landed, took out a portrait, and compared it to Cleveland, then agreed. He picked him up and flew him out of the city. When Cleveland was stopped from bleeding and regained his barely senses, he realized that he had been thrown next to Lear, and around him were Lyman and other members of the Cleveland and Lyman families, who were just as miserable, with both legs missing. Deep despair swept over him. Cleveland understood that being captured alive didn't mean he wouldn't die. On the contrary, it was a more desperate death. Immediately, Cleveland cursed loudly, wanting to provoke Lear to give him a quick death. "You old bastard. Kill me if you have the guts. The third prince won't let you off. And your little bastard son, you all." Before he could finish speaking, Cleveland wailed and clutched his bloody mouth, rolling on the ground. In the dirt was a section of scarlet tongue. Lear calmly wiped the blood from his katana on the clothes of Cleveland's trembling eldest son. Harlan couldn't help but reminded him, "Bishop Lear, His Holiness the Pope may still want to interrogate him. You've cut off his tongue. It doesn't matter." Lear smiled. Ardorn Church's current reserves of regeneration potions can withstand the waste. Harlan suddenly understood and exclaimed, "Bishop Lear is indeed wise." With that, Harlan excitedly carried his katana forward and cut off the tongues of Lyman and the others one by one. "Cut them all off first, so these dogs don't make annoying noises." Lear didn't pay attention to these things, but looked at the gradually subsiding sounds of fighting in the city. After a long time, Uriel swooped down and landed beside Lear. He cupped his hands and said, "Bishop Lear, all resistance forces in the city defense force have been annihilated, and all family members of the Cleveland and Lyman families have been." Lear smiled with satisfaction, adjusted his appearance, and spurred his warhorse to walk into the city. "Very good. Follow me into the city and ignite the dawn divine radiance." Chapter 75. Eggs and milk are always the sharpest weapons of faith. This so-called war lasted only a little over 20 minutes. Strictly speaking, the war ended the moment they clashed with the elite city defense force of Tree Crown City. From beginning to end, the greatest loss suffered by the church army was when two accidentally bumped their heads while trying to steal a kill. Tree Crown City, less than 200 remained. What would happen to these people depended on the accusations of the citizens of Tree Crown City. Those who hadn't done anything bad would be sentenced to reform soldiers through labor, and those who had, each person was divided into 5 groups to attack the magical beast forest ruins, peering out cautiously. Occupying a city is the easiest part. The difficult part is how to maintain stable rule afterward. However, Ian had already laid the groundwork. Riding his horse to the central square of Tree Crown City, Harlan began the final operations. The banners of the Church of the Dawn fluttered in the sky above the square, and Harlan shouted with all his might, "Radiance of the Dawn. All followers of the Dawn can receive a portion of eggs and bread." No need to say more. With the banner of the Dawn planted here, coupled with the classic egg and bread offensive, the civilians who had been cowering in their houses just a moment ago swarmed over in the blink of an eye in the hearts of the citizens of Tree Crown City. Tree Crown City, which Lyman and the Cleveland family had managed for many years, was transformed into the soil of the Dawn's faith in an instant. especially after the citizens of Tree Crown City actually ate the bread. Prayers arose everywhere. Leave. He led his men on horseback around the city, counted the number of infected zombies in the dungeon, and reinforced the prison cells. Later, these zombies would be carefully selected, and the civilians would be restored to their original state. Those related to the Cleveland and Lyman families would be sent out to bask in the sun. After finishing the tour, Leal called Harlan over. The rest of the army will return to the starting ground. His Holiness the Pope will send clergy to station in Tree Crown City. If there is any situation, let the Winged Clan send a message at any time. Harlan nodded in agreement, and Leal didn't stay any longer. He asked Uriel and the others to bring as much of the Cleveland and Lyman families' treasures as possible, and sent the army back. With the horses in the MC world, one day was enough for the Church Speed Army to return to the starting ground. However, Leal chose to have the Winged Clan fly him back. The faster the return journey, the better. Cleveland and Lyman had to be handed over to Ian as soon as possible. The speed of the Winged Clan was known throughout the continent. Even with the burden of carrying Leal and the others, they could still return to the starting ground in 2 hours. The sun had just passed its zenith when Leal brought the Winged Clan and the 2 prisoner families back to the castle square. Your Holiness, I have not failed my mission, Leal said with a smile, excluding the day spent on the road, this battle before he could finish speaking. Leal's rhythm was interrupted by Ian. Let's not talk about these things first. Ian ignored the groaning Clevelands and others on the ground and looked Leal up and down. You came back so quickly. Uriel and the others brought you back, right? Leal was a little puzzled, but he still nodded. That's right. I was eager to report to you, so I first let the Winged Clan bring me back. Apart from the army stationed in Tree Crown City, the other troops are already on their way and will be back within a day. Ian thoughtfully. So how did Uriel and the others bring you back? Could it be that they carried you on their backs? Just thinking about Leal, this dignified old gentleman, lying on Uriel's back, the fierce wind in the air messing up his silver hair, but he still wore a serious expression. This contrasting scenes made Ian couldn't help but want to laugh. Leal's face fell. He glanced at Uriel and the others and said in a low voice, Your Holiness, I don't think this matter is important now. Alright. Ian beckoned, signaling Markov to come forward, and said with a grin, take these guests to enjoy the dawn's hospitality. Markov, Holy Knight, they are too noisy. I will cut off their tongues first, and remember to use regeneration potions when interrogating them. Understood, Bishop Leal. Markov smiled grimly and led the knights away with the people from the Cleveland and Lyman families. Ian then looked at Uriel and the others and said gently, thank you for your hard work, Uriel. This sentence was more effective than a shot of chicken blood. Uriel immediately turned red with excitement and thumped his chest heavily. For the Dawn and His Holiness the Pope, we are willing to give our lives. Moreover, with the protection of the Great Dawn and His Holiness the Pope, we have achieved an amazing victory with 0 casualties. It's not hard work at all. The truly hard work should be done by His Holiness the Pope, who cares about the children of the Dawn. Leal glanced at Uriel silently. This guy was really a talent. After joining the Dawn, his strength hadn't improved much, but his flattery skills had increased day by day. Was this still the iron-blooded strongman who shouted charge hoarsely in the face of tens of thousands of demons? Fortunately, Ian had heard enough flattery, and this little skill wasn't enough to move him. His expression remained gentle, and he slightly, you should go and rest first. Tree Crown City is just the beginning, and there will be more to do next. Adjust your state to better fight for the Dawn. Only Ian and Leal were left in the castle. Leal put down his airs. Master Ian, there are still more than 400 infected zombie citizens in Tree Crown City. Ian nodded and said, later, identify these infected people, and then take the antidote there. Is there anything noteworthy about this battle? Leal thought for a moment, and then shook his head. No, the war went smoothly. Almost in one encounter, Tree Crown City completely collapsed. The knights and mages raised by the Cleveland and Lyman families were all annihilated. It's just that we were in a hurry to come back, and we didn't have time to search the treasuries of these 2 families. We only brought some gold coins and books on knights and magic. Ian raised an eyebrow, took a few books, glanced at them, and quickly lost interest, handing them to Leisure. Put them in the castle library. Whoever is interested can go and learn them. The Cleveland and Lyman Knight cultivation family's methods were quite crude compared to the Forbes family's inheritance. Only those magic books were a bit interesting, but the magic recorded was very low level, mostly fireballs. Ian didn't care about this stuff. With the MC world, he was the strongest knight even without cultivation. Similarly, with the MC world gate, Ian would definitely not lack magic in the future. If these books were from the elven race, Ian would be interested in reading them. Master Ian, I have carefully observed this battle. Church of the Dawn, as well as the Winged Clan, have engraved their devotion to the Dawn into their bones, meeting your standards for fanatics. When are you planning to add some manpower to our exploration of the Dawn's heavenly kingdom? Our Church of the Dawn is spreading wider and wider, relying on just a few of us, not to mention anything else. Just transporting supplies is not enough. To be honest, Leal didn't really want to mention this matter. The MC world was Ian's private and great land. Their ability to enter the MC world meant Ian's utmost trust. To Leal, this was a more important honor than life. Who would want to share this honor? But the current Church of the Dawn really needed to expand its core circle. City, relying on Leal and the others to transport materials such as golden apples would probably take 2 or 3 trips of resources. How many trips would Leal and the others have to make to build Tree Crown City? Develop. Regarding the development of the Church of the Dawn, Leal had to mention it. With his grasp of people's hearts, he could see the loyalty and fanaticism of Uriel and the others. He could guarantee that Uriel and the others would not have any malicious intentions towards Ian's MC world, and would cherish this glory as carefully as they did. Coincidentally, after Ian's observation of Uriel and the others during this period, he also recognized their faith. I will consider this matter. After thinking for a moment, Ian nodded in agreement. Leal breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, he couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive, still suppressed this emotion. Having stayed in the MC world for so long, he naturally understood what dragon slaying meant. That was the highest achievement and glory recognized by Ian and the MC world. Ian wanted to take them to slay a dragon, which only meant one thing. No matter what stage the Church of the Dawn developed to, these people would always be Ian's most blatant favoritism thing. Ian hesitated slightly and couldn't help but ask, I'm still very curious, how exactly did you get brought back by the Winged Clan, Master Ian? Leal was embarrassed. After a long while, looking at Ian's persistent face, the corners of his mouth twitched for a moment, and Leal sighed. Anyway, I wasn't carried back. Got it? You were dragged back. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.